What is up, everyone? Happy... Well, it's Monday. Nobody's happy about Monday. What's everyone up to? How you can go live on Linux? Use OBS. You can get a stream key from them. I think I knocked my camera. Hold on. I was like looking at it and I'm like, the angle looks a little bit off. Let's not fall backwards on stream. I don't need to end up on live stream fails. So what's everyone up to? Let's see. Is that? I'll have to futz with it some more. That should be good enough. What's up, Marco? How's it going? What's everyone up to? So I did put a new capture card in the stream PC today. So one of three things I think is going on, or there could be an overlap about that. Wait, 3 minutes? Am I this early? Yeah, apparently Twitch was slow to notify people, and my notifications are just popping off now because I can hear the Matrix alerts going off. So the alerts just went out to Blue Sky, Mastodon, Discord, and Matrix. But yeah, so I put a new capture card in the stream PC. So now there's two PCI Express capture cards in there, plus a USB one. The USB one is just kind of there. So I have an Elgato 4K Pro alongside an AverMedia Live Gamer Duo. The reason why I used the Live Gamer was two inputs for that one. I've had that the longest out of all the capture cards, and it works pretty good for what I've needed, because I always have one input for the camera, one input for whatever tinkering, so there's an HDMI always here that I can plug in, and then there is one other input for this workstation over here.
Banana Monkey Feces is now chilling in the lab.
Thank you for the follow. Banana Monkey Feces. How do y'all come up with some of these names? Yeah, I'm just gonna call myself Banana Monkey Feces. But yeah, so I have a new capture card in there. So one of a few things I think was happening, and we're gonna get to the bottom of troubleshooting it, because the third one, I think I may have like just theorized while tinkering before the stream. So the first one is, okay, the capture card that I had, the 4K cam link, is having some hardware issues with it. Potential issue number two, when I looked at it, I added a USB add-in card to be able to use that card. If there's not enough bandwidth, or for whatever reason that card is not liking it, that could be an issue, and I found I had a USB-C port opened up on the motherboard, so I moved the capture card there, but I didn't test that before I actually moved over to the new capture card. And option 3 was, whenever I have a script here, this is streamer hardware problems, this isn't like a Linux problem per se, but whenever I have this stream PC on, the Linux box will see it as another monitor, just like Windows would. So I have a script there to rearrange all my monitors, so that way it always captures the center monitor, and just that way I don't have to go in and manually tweak it. It just picks up what I need to do and then gets it configured. Well, the audio sync inside of it, it may not be handshaking properly when it resets the functions to get the video, which is why sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So I did work alongside Claude to get that new, it'll apply the meta mode changes, wait 2 seconds for the HDMI audio handshake to complete, then force Pipewire to activate output HDMI stereo profile on the NVIDIA HDMI card, which will map it to HDMI output 0, which is on the Elgato 4K Pro right now. So I'll have to do some more testing to see if that ends up being the actual case for it. Even if it does, I'm not gonna return the capture card, because the thing this does that the Camlink 4K doesn't do is this can natively support 1440p capture mode, whereas on the Camlink, essentially what I was doing was I was using, I'm output to 1440p, but as we know, it clones the center monitor, but it won't support 1440p natively, so it does some NVIDIA voodoo magic, basically. I forgot what the terminology is, but it's, I think, using viewport, to scale it down to 1080p so then it can go on to stream, whereas now I'm capturing in 1440p for the computer, which will prepare me for eventually, once I get symmetrical bandwidth. One of the things I was looking at doing was improving the stream quality to at least 1440p. This camera, I think, is capable of 4K 30, not 4K 60, but we don't really need 60 frames per second of seeing me so much, so we'll cross that bridge once we, you know, come to it. But the end goal is basically that I'm always working on improving the stream quality for everybody and tinkering with new stuff. What's safer to use as my one password, my landline or my SSN? Is Senpuku an option? Could I turn an old laptop into a home lab? Absolutely. Home labs don't have to be any specific kind of hardware. They just have to be hardware that will get you to reach the goals of what you're trying to do in tinkering and education. So, I mean, I've started off with secondhand machines that were, by today's standards, pretty underpowered. So, you can definitely use a laptop. I have buddies of mine that when laptops, basically the screens die or whatever, they'll take the main boards out, throw it in like a pizza box, and then attach a monitor to that, and then that becomes basically like a little home lab computer for them to use. Some of my friends also take those and convert them into moving picture frames. So, yeah, it's not so much about you have to have rack-mounted servers or anything like that. It's you find the hardware that you can use right now to do the tinkering you want to do. That's the important thing. And I cannot encourage reuse of computers enough. We need to diminish the amount of e-waste that we have going out there. Because the problem is everybody is buying new, brand new, but tons of hardware out there is still plenty good. Like right now, many companies are still cycling out machines from Windows 10 because they can't support Windows 11. Those machines are still freaking wonderful for your home labs with Linux machines and all of that. Because the hardware is perfectly fine. It's just some arbitrary requirements that Microsoft had for Windows 11. So you can pick up a lot of these machines for like maybe not even $100 a lot of times. I found machines for like 30, 40 bucks sometimes at little flea markets and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I have like okay, I don't think it's on my desk right now. No, it is. No, it is. Hold on. So, like, hold on. I thought it was here. I really need to clean my desk. I've been slowly doing that. Anyway, there's a tiny Lenovo mini PC that I have around here. And I could have sworn it was here. Nope, it's not here. I must have it somewhere else. Wait. Ah! I knew it was here somewhere. It was right by my feet. Hold up. Yeah, like this. Pick this up for 30 bucks at Hamvention in their little flea market. This has a Core i5, DDR3, that I bumped up to 16 gigabytes, and I think I threw a 240 or 500 gigabyte SATA SSD in here. Anyway, more than enough for a lot of people to tinker around with and start messing around with things. $30. You can find lots of little machines and stuff like that. And the great thing about using like old laptops and mini PCs, they're very energy efficient, which is the other concern that a lot of people have with home labs, because like some people will get these big beefy, you know, rack mounted servers, but they use a crap ton of energy, which is why I tend to go for more energy efficient rack mount servers. Yeah, like my entire network rack of machines plus PoE switches, access points, single board computers, all of that, it's using only about 200 watts. I think right now maybe closer to 230. So, yeah, that's another thing to be mindful of. I do have a friend of mine that has some really powerful Dell 2 or 3U servers in their rack, and what he did is he figured out how to program it that over iDRAC he can turn them on when he needs via his Kubernetes setup, so it will turn the machine on, power up, do the tasks that he's sending it, and then when it finishes it will automatically shut down the machine, because he doesn't need those, you know, going full bore all the time. He's got like 5 or 6 of them. Let's talk about Mythos AI and NoScope. No, we're not talking about that. I'm tired of people bringing it up every chat. We need to stop buying the sensationalism and marketing of AI when they're like, well, it's so dangerous. They said this with GPT-2 back in 2017. Until that shit is in your hands, don't buy into it. Once it's actually in your hands and you can use it, then I'll believe the hype. I'm tired of people going like, oh my god, Claude Mythos, they're saying it's gonna end the world, it's gonna F my mom, and, you know, all of that crap. Until it's in my hands, until you put the fries in the bag, I don't give a shit about it. Look, I can go ahead and tell you, like, 50 million things about, like, this product over here is going to revolutionize and change your life. Oh, really? When can I use it? Well, it's too scary right now. You can't touch it. That's, like, basically, like, some salesman kind of BS gimmick, you know, when they try to hype it up. That's what it is. So no, I'm not going to talk about this shit anymore. Y'all need to stop buying marketing BS. Maybe it is actually great. Okay, then we'll deal with it then. But I'm tired of the whole, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Well, too damn bad. I'm tired of this, where we keep going through these hype cycles. And that's how it's been. Oh, ChatGPT 5 is going to be freaking amazing. It's going to revolutionize it. Mediocre improvement from ChatGPT 4. Claude Opus 4.6, they were saying, oh, it's going to, you know, be dangerous. It's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but it's not breaking the world like we thought it would. Alright, moving on. Why are you so pretentious when answering newbies' questions? Not pretentious. It's a matter of, look, the funny thing is, when you're in cybersecurity and IT, people will call you pretentious just for answering questions just because they, you know, don't like the things that they're told. Talk to me like I'm 5. Why does software have so many exploits, and is that a feature? Okay, let's put it this way. You put a Lego set together. In that first pass that you build a Lego set, you have no manual, and you're building a city. Is it perfect? Or do you keep finding iterative improvements or little issues that happen there? That's what it's all about. Nobody's gonna get perfection in their first pass. That's what it comes down to. So the foundation is trash. I wouldn't say it's trash, it's just... You ever write... Like, let me put it this way. You ever do a project and then walk away from it, come back, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? I need to completely rethink this approach. Or, I see an issue with the approach that I took back then. Let's see. Chat's going by a little bit fast. How do I start learning to code with no knowledge? Give yourself projects, like very basic things, like I want to make a calculator. I want to, I mean, that's how I did it. I just was like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. So I gave myself little projects, and little by little, you build up over time. There's, what is it, boot.dev, code crafters, and a few other things to help you through it. You can also use AI to be like, hey, I want to create this, but let me know each step, and then explain the fundamentals of things to you. Now, bear in mind, when you have AI write it, it's not always going to be correct, so that'll give you some, you know, experience with troubleshooting and bug hunting and all that. Any tips or advice with breaking into cybersecurity switching from computer science? Well, there's a lot of need for developers in the cybersecurity world, believe it or not. Save money now and then, want to eat. Get money in the daytime, even count it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD.
Contagious just subscribed.
Thank you for that Prime sub over there. Appreciate you. Alright, let's see. People are just gonna troll, you can go troll elsewhere. Let me see, moving on. Finish CCNA 1, 2, 3, doing CCNMP. Do I add AWS architecture? So going after AWS is really only applicable if you foresee yourself in a career where you're going to be using AWS. The honest truth is, don't get too suckered into like thinking you need to go down this path, because when I started out, I was doing things in like DigitalOcean and Linode, and then over years I started using AWS, and now at my new job I'm using Azure, and I've never used Azure before. So I'd focus more on the fundamentals and the concepts than you know, just going down one specific path. And not a lot of jobs that I've seen are specifically calling out for certifications in those different things. It's more like has knowledge in Google Cloud Platform, or Azure, or AWS. Got a super chat here. Is Donald Trump really Jesus? I heard something about that. I don't know what the story is. Like, some post he made and then deleted. I don't know. But yeah, any tips or advice when breaking into cybersecurity switching from computer science? So, yeah, I would definitely say that right now the advantage is, if you're going from computer science, I don't know what your experience is, but there is actually not a lot of people in cybersecurity that can code. So AppSec is a huge underserved part of cybersecurity, at least in my experiences and observation. So you can definitely get down that line between CI/CD, DevOps, DevSecOps, and AppSec as a whole. That might be a route for you. Not saying it's the only way, but I'm saying if going from there to there, yeah. Oh, you got the Pikachu hat, you claimed. Look, man, I'm catching up on chat. Alright. Let me see. Cersei's on entry. What certifications should I get? I tell people only go after certifications that actually are worthwhile for your career, and the easy way to determine that, go look at the jobs that you're trying to apply for, the job postings there, see what certifications they're specifically calling out for. But I will give you this warning too. Certs are great, fine and dandy, but they're basically just check boxes for HR. They don't guarantee you the job. And there is also the converse problem of if you have too many certs sometimes, it may just look like you're gathering certs and not retaining knowledge to some employers. Just so you have to kind of have that balancing act. And you're talking to someone
XK_abs is now chilling in the lab.
Didn't get a degree, a 4-year degree, or get their certs until over a decade into this field. What's your UPS cycle? 1 or 2 times a month? What, you're talking, when you're saying UPS, are you talking about my uninterruptible power supply or something else? Problem with this damn field is there's so many different acronyms that use the same letters. But yeah, my UPS is on an auto test at least once a month, I think. We've had some experiences where my UPS failed on stream. That's been fun. They spend more money on not finding vulnerabilities than they could ever get from the bugs payout. Is Acer brand bad? I wouldn't say bad. They've just kind of gone downhill over the years. What was it? Gateway used to be one of the companies that they existed. Then they bought it out, and then yeah. Do you feel like knowing only Python can get you a job? Yeah. Shockingly, in many jobs I've been at, I was the only person that knew Python on my side of the team. I use Kali with AI. Now I use, I'm using Parrot OS. I do use some AI stuff, but depends on what I really need. Because not always, you don't always need to use AI. Sometimes it's quicker. So you think I can self-learn cybersecurity without a degree? I did. The problem that you're running into now more is they want checkboxes. So the problem I think that we're going to see more and more of, this was already a problem to begin with, is HR is wanting checkboxes, and now they have AI with application tracking systems that if you don't check those boxes, they're not going to consider you, which is why I'm even trying to go for a bachelor's degree. And here's the thing I'll also say at the same time. Even if you do get a degree, the knowledge that you will get from a degree is at best foundational and conceptual. You're still gonna leave school and find you barely learned anything in school compared to what you'll find in the field. And that's from friends of mine who have gone through school and then been in the field and say, I barely learned crap in school. It's just that you're getting a degree for a checkbox for HR. That's the unfortunate, honest way to put it out there. I don't know any nicer way to put it. I'm not saying not to go get your degree. I'm just saying have the expectation of just because you got your degree, you don't know jack. And that doesn't just apply to IT and cyber. That's for a lot of different fields, okay? There's a lot of fields out there that, okay, you got your degree, but you still don't know jack until you're in the field for a while. I've heard that even from lawyers that have passed the bar. And the bar is a very hard test. I'm not by any means putting that down. But they've said, no, I learned way more outside of school, being in law libraries and stuff than that, than I did in law school. Although it helps prepare you that fundamental, foundational knowledge. But yeah. Is it too late to start getting into cybersecurity with all the AI stuff going on? I really think people need to stop thinking it's too late just because AI's here. Look, it'll be too late when AI is finally coming down on us like Skynet and Terminator. Until then, don't buy into the hype. Just remember that AI is basically just a tool. It still needs to be babysat. It still needs to be guided. It will still make mistakes, and at the end of the day, when there are issues, leadership wants people to be held accountable. They're not going to buy the excuse of, well, the AI said it was okay, and they're just like, okay, move on. No. What's going to end up happening is if AI makes an automated change, and then it happens to halt production or cause issues, they're going to hold the person accountable that approved that automation to be enabled. Can I use you as a reference? I barely know you! Just got a cybersecurity analyst job at Morton. Will working there 2 years help get a better job? I mean, in general, yeah. Building more experience, period, will help out. Now, the question is where you want to pivot more so. If you're talking about, like, okay, so you just got it. You're talking about being there for like 2 years. In that 2 years' time, figure out what you want to learn and where you want to pivot. You got 2 years of runway, if I'm understanding your question right. There's a lot you can do education-wise. So, definitely. You going to DEF CON this year? I'm geeked for it as always. I'm planning on it. I actually just booked my, finished my hotel bookings. I have to do the, flight scheduling. I may actually be helping out a village this year, so my badge may actually come through the, volunteering. I'm still gonna go, you know, do my thing, but, details to come if that comes about. I'll know one way or another by end of August, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have never heard of the 007D certification. Is that like becoming like James Bond's dick? I don't know. Look, somebody just asked that. I have no idea what that certification is. Is John Carmack using scripts? I don't know about that. In my site to show up from Google searches, how can I do it? I know it, but I didn't even build my site. So, a lot of this goes into the old concept of SEO, search engine optimization, although SEO, from what I was told, is kind of like dead or dying. To get it ranked, there's a lot of stuff that Google has to score off of. There's tools out there you can run your website through. I'm not a marketing type person, so this is not my forte, I will be honest. But I know there's tools out there to help you rank it better. That's a whole job field in itself. Coding is almost useless in cybersecurity. I wouldn't say that. It's very valuable, especially when you're dealing with the APIs and different applications to tie them together. And, of course, you have the whole CI/CD, DevSecOps side of things, AppSec. There's a lot of people that don't know coding as much as I think they should at least have a foundational grasp of, but yeah. Any tips to start in malware development as a 16-year-old? That's not really my forte. I know a few people that are in that side of things, but they would be better to speak at that than I would, to be honest. You talk more about the DEF CON internet. What about it? There is basically 3 different Wi-Fi networks at DEF CON. One is we jokingly refer to as the Wild West Internet. Basically, you connect in like any public internet. You're on your own for that one. Then you have 2 secure Wi-Fis, one in WPA2 and one in WPA3, and all that is different there is you have to install a cert after you register there, which then allows them to inspect all the traffic going in and out of your device, so that way there's nothing potentially janking that could be going on there. So that's the, you know, more secured Wi-Fi, and like a lot of people overhype the issues that go on at DEF CON internet. I tell people, like, look, it's no different than you are on a coffee shop's public internet. Don't do anything you wouldn't be willing to do on those networks. That's what it comes down to. Nobody's really gonna burn a 0-day at DEF CON unless they're doing a presentation on it. Now, as far as DEF CON and the Wall of Sheep, yes, they do actually run the traffic through to see if any secrets do get exposed, and they will shame you for it. Do you find the CIS beneficial for you? It's a checkbox. I think it helps at least for the more senior roles because they're starting to look for it, but it's a checkbox. I don't feel like I learned anything or am any different before or after it. It's just I passed the test, checked the box, I have it, we're good. Need a roadmap to cybersecurity as a beginner. So there's a website. I can show this. 1 second, chat. So there's a website. One of my friends put me down to this. It's called roadmap.sh. Many of you have probably heard about this, but some of you probably haven't. So you can actually go in here and find different roadmaps for different things. So let's see. Cybersecurity. Okay. So you want to do cybersecurity just a generality. Not that you have to do everything here, but this gives you a decent, you know, framework of concepts, tools, and various things that you'll want to understand. This is at roadmap.sh. So that's roadmap.Sierra Hotel. So, yeah, that might be good for you if you're looking just for a roadmap. Would you make more money as a perfect 10 female in cybersecurity? Well, the fact that you're saying something about just the way you say perfect 10 female makes me kind of just like side-eye you. Look, I know women that have made more than me. I know women that make less than me. Generally, from what I see, it's about meritocracy. Now, I could talk about the fact that I do see, at least in my perspective, not as many women as there are men in the technical sides of things, but cybersecurity is for everyone. Generally, we don't care if you've got internal or external genitalia. It's about, can you do the fucking work? I'm still trying to catch up on chat. Turns out that ID tag is far more advanced than Unreal Engine 5 if you manually bake brushes. Wait, what? Oh. Gateway was solid when it was on its own company. Oh yeah, I miss the cow pattern boxes. They were solid computers. I used to recommend them quite a bit too. I can't rate the CCNA for the life of me. Yeah, I still haven't gone for the CCNA, but to each their own. Any job that cares about technical prowess will probably have a technical interview to sniff out BS anyways. Yeah, the job I went for kind of did. But the honest truth is, they even outright said, we're going to skip a lot of these basic questions because we've seen your GitHub. So most of my last interview ended up just being us talking about different things, what the culture's like at the company and things like that, because they could look up my stuff. High resolutions and Doom Dark Ages using an engine that's a quarter century old. Yeah, I feel like games these days kind of are too heavy for what they should be. Like, I was playing Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, one of my favorite games. That and Doom 3 and Quake 4. How are they so smaller, so much smaller, and still so performant, and still visually appealing? I mean, Doom 3 and Quake 4, yeah, they're a little bit dated with some texture sizes and everything. But like Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, that game, for the most part, looks like it could have just been released within the past 3 or 4 years. OSCP or CISSP? It depends on your path. There's not one's better than the other. I know a lot of people that actually have both the OSCP and CISSP. The CISSP is really more so, like, I'd say it's more so if you're trying to pursue more senior level roles, because a lot of the jobs I see kind of are asking for something like that. But they fulfill different things. Not saying you should definitely go get both, but there's no issue with either one, or one's not better than the other, because they're two different things. IT degree and having certs, they still won't hire you. You need experience. Yep, that's true. I've worked 8 years in IT and never used my comp science degree. I mean, some people may never use the skills they got in college. I mean, my dad worked in IT, but he had a bachelor's in mathematics and, well, I think it was aerodynamic engineering. Yeah. How would you approach vulns now for Mythos-type capabilities in the future of AI attack methods? Okay, again, the whole Mythos thing, I think, needs to really be tempered down until people actually have it in their hands. But the way you'd approach it is the same as it's always been done. You test your stuff internally. The problem is a lot of the things that are getting popped in terms of enterprises are because they haven't done pen testing on their own stuff. They don't do attacks on their own software stacks. They don't have internal penetration testing. They do their quarterly pen test at most in many cases, and then they call it a day. But most companies that I've come across do not have internal red teams. And you need to have the continuous cycle of build, design, build, CI/CD, run through all the tests, have individuals go attack it, whether they're using AI or not. And it's going to be the same whether or not you have AI. AI is just a tool. It's not, you know, I don't know how else to say this. It's not the second coming of Jesus, okay? How can you get experience if they won't hire you? It's a catch-22. Home labs. Home labbing and documenting what you're doing in your home lab can actually be a big way to get experience. A lot of the jobs that I've gotten has been because of the experience I've gotten from my home lab, been able to document, and in some cases made a GitHub for. But I can showcase that I've done that work. And I can at least say I haven't done this at a true enterprise level, but I've done these kind of things. You can see my workflows over there. You can see how I've architected this over here, and how these concepts could adapt to what you're talking about in this enterprise environment. Not really. The foundations you get and the guidance from uni is still helpful. Also, it forces you to have more complete knowledge. I wouldn't say it forces you to have more complete knowledge, because here's the one thing I will give you a rebuttal on. What was most of the IT industry, and by extension cybersecurity, founded by? A ton of college dropouts. Now, yes, you have a few people in there that have degrees and stuff like that, that have, you know, been in academia, but there's a lot of people in this field that have gotten in just fine being a college dropout. And a lot of the concepts that you're going to learn throughout your career aren't being taught in schools right now. Like, think about it this way. When AI was just hitting the mainstream and everything, what was it, like 2022 was like when it was really hitting its apex, or hitting its stride. People were still not talking about it in schools until another year and a half. And right now, they're still figuring out how to properly educate people on things, but a lot of the things that we're doing with AI today weren't the same as they were a year or even a year and a half ago. Because not even a year ago, if my time is not mistaken, OpenClaw wasn't even a thing. Or if it was, it wasn't as well known. Yeah, it makes it easier for bad actors, thus we need more people preventing bad actors. Yeah, but I would also say that they're mainly using the same tools that we have access to. Like, if you look at Parrot OS or even Kali, all those tools in there are the same things both the good and the bad guys are using. Same thing with AI. Collaborations on Secret Kim software. I work for people that make me fill checkboxes. I'm not recommending it as a personal policy, but it served me well, though. Problem is, more jobs are getting that way, so it's not really the choice of having the opportunity to say I don't want them to have checkboxes. It's which one fits the checkboxes for me so I can pay my bills. It's the best Linux distro for daily drive. The best one is the one that fits your workflow the best. For me, it's Pop OS. Some people like Straight Ubuntu, Debian, Bazite, Catchy OS, whatever. Experiment. Play around. Have fun. Find out what works best for you instead of saying, there must be one, all-knowing, all-perfect Linux distribution. There isn't. There's just what's right for me. And what's right for you may not be the same as what's right for me, and vice versa. Why did you get your CISSP if you want to stay technical? Because a lot of the technical jobs still want the CISSP at senior levels. Like, once you start looking at, like, senior cybersecurity engineer, architects, things like that, they start asking for these kind of things. And a lot of people say, well, the CISSP is not that technical. It's vendor agnostic. And the problem is you can't get super technical without going specifically into how certain vendors do things differently. That was actually one of my gripes with the Network Plus that CompTIA did that I took a couple of months ago as part of WGU. Because they say it's vendor agnostic. Bullshit. They have you dealing with Cisco syntax. Like, how are you vendor agnostic but only pushing one way to set up routers and switches? Do you see the problem? So, like, if you're trying to go more technical, generally that leans more towards vendor-specific certs, but then you're dealing in their ecosystem there. Like, even if you look at, like, Red Hat, for example, you get the Red Hat certs. A lot of the stuff there may not necessarily translate to an Ubuntu operating system. They're scripting every day in a SOC. This is true, Contagious. SEO isn't dead yet. I'm learning that the hard way. Yeah. Should I learn Python as a novice? Python's always good to learn in general. I'm an internet, networks, and security major, but I'm probably going to need to get certifications. Not necessarily. I didn't get my first cert until about 2 years ago, after more than a decade in the field. Galdar is asking, can I ask you an IT question? Yeah, you can ask me a question. I find it funny how people come into stream and then are like, can I ask you a question? You don't need to ask me if you want to ask a question. Just ask your child, my son. Or daughter. I don't know, it sounds weird when you say it like that. My child. School BYOD network auto installs a root CA certificate upon my question. Can the SSL inspect? Yes. So primarily when a lot of networks are installing a certificate, they are doing it for that reason. So what did you think about the Artemis 2 mission? I think it's interesting. We watched it the other night. But yeah. Thought it was interesting. Kind of cool to, see that happening all over again. Highest paying jobs in cybersecurity? The highest paying would be CISO. I don't want that freaking job. If you want an efficient modern game, you should see the video about Silksong. Oh, I love Silksong. So you're well off from this career? I think I am. You sell your soul to sands like I did? Nope. Oh yeah, a few people followed. Thank you for that. I love her more than you. Interesting names y'all come up with. Scrolling through. Download Arch Linux, get pipe returned. How do I get a BIOS update if HP doesn't provide the update anymore? Oof, that's tough. Generally you can find it maybe through like archive.org or anything like that, but if you can't find the BIOS update, generally you're SOL, but there might be some mirror sites or anything like that. Although HP keeps updates up for a long time, they may have just restructured the URL. Is your company accepting interns from the Philippines? Unfortunately, no. So I have so many GitHub projects specifically, especially GRC portfolio, and still not. Okay. People don't think home labs work for jobs, but it's super helpful. Yeah, it's the main reason I've gotten a lot of my jobs is home labbing, tinkering, and stuff like that. Home lab documentation is falling behind. It's behind a private Git repo, so Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have to update my local documentation. Market is so cooked right now, and the catch-22 makes it impossible. I also have a GitHub portfolio. Yeah, the market is really effed right now, especially for new people. That's just in general, not just in IT or cyber. That's just in general right now. Learned so much from actually from handling actual compromises than I ever did in a class. Oh yeah, you'll learn more rolling with it. Are EMPs really something to worry about? They're not something you should lose sleep over, but they are something you should be aware about. Just because the job asked me to get it. Yeah, I got my CISSP a couple years ago because the job asked me for it, and I was like, yeah. What do I enjoy about security? I enjoy smacking devs around. No, I'm kidding. That's a perk. No, I enjoy just the puzzle and the fact that every day it can be different, and there's always new challenges. I'm never going to be bored because my day can be different every day. There's new technologies, new attacks, new ways to think about things, and yeah, there's a lot. Like on the side as well. I've loved the fact that I've been able to volunteer historically. I need to get back into doing it. Where I've actually helped out like DV shelters, domestic violence, where people are fleeing abusive partners and they don't know how to protect themselves. So I've actually given classes about how to minimize your stuff on social media, how things can be tracked through your images, the geotagging of it and all that. Again, a lot of this is like basic level, but a lot of things people aren't aware of, so it makes me feel really great that I'm actually also able to give back and be a positive influence on the world. So, out of darkness comes light, basically. Is that a banana or a Pikachu app? It is Pikachu. I'm looking at getting started in cybersecurity and IT space, junior CS, special science. Okay. How do you recommend I start? Pressing the on button. Okay, but in all seriousness, the site that I recommended earlier, roadmap.sh, can help you learn a lot of the different concepts and path you may want to take for a lot of the different things you may be looking at. Home labbing, always useful. Tinker. The main thing that you need to know in this field is that you are not dead until you stop learning. You will be learning continuously throughout your entire career. Thoughts on Zscaler? I actually like Zscaler. I know, some of you may be like throwing tomatoes at me. I like Zscaler. In fact, I'm actually trying to schmooze with them right now to see about getting it in my home lab because they don't really have home lab plans. That's something I'm working on the back end. Because as much as I'd like TwinGate for my Zero Trust network access, I love Zscaler's approach a lot more. You can do a lot better posturing. You can do DLP. The ZIA aspects of it are really nice. They have a really great deception product, which is their honeypot/honeynet. Does a great job. So you can actually have that tied into like Okta, for example. When it hits users that are, real, and like there's some credentials that are used, and it happens to be close enough, it'll actually force that user to reset. There's so many cool things you can do with it. I really liked it. That product used to be with Illusion Black, and Zscaler's made a few acquisitions that are pretty nice as well. The big thing with Zscaler is a lot of people go too hard, too fast, too soon on implementation. You need to take time on it. Eventually you do want to work your way down to micro-segmentation, but you have to start with the low-hanging fruit, the easy wins first, build it out in phases with the expectation it's going to take an org probably at minimum 2 years, probably more likely to 5 years to get everything fully moved over, because you're probably going to have some old applications that are not well optimized for it, and you're going to have to make pinholes to make it run through. But I really do like Zscaler. I just wish they had more of a home lab product so that we could actually get to experience it, because the problem that I find with Zscaler is, unlike, say, opposed to like Tailgate, what is it, not Tailgate, Tailscale, Netbird, and what I'm using, TwinGate, they all have products where you can spin them up in your home lab, get used to it, and tinker with it, whereas Zscaler, you only really get to learn and tinker with it in an enterprise side, so there's not as much exposure. So when a lot of people come into using Zscaler, they are basically like completely blind and unaware of what they need to do. It's a whole shift in your mindset when you're going to zero trust network access, especially in Zscaler's way. But once you get it implemented, it's great. Yeah, does it have its issues? Yeah, all products do. But I think overall, it's great. Studying for the LPIC one exam, how hard is it? I haven't done the LPIC. Are you new to IT? CompTIA is cool. Are you already in IT? CompTIA is garbage. That's pretty much a good synopsis there. You got in before the hiring freeze. Pretty much. Dude, should I do engineering or cybersecurity? I don't know. That's a personal call. I can't make that decision for you. Everybody's mindset is different. What job is beginner friendly? McDonald's. Sorry, you left it really open-ended there. It's kind of hard to say depending on what you're looking for. I just got a... hold on. What the hell? I just got a secret clearance and Security Plus. What should I do next? Focus on a job for those things? Don't really know how much else to do next without context there. I mean, just build up your experience and everything. Although it's nice that you got the secret clearance. It's kind of hard to get those, and it does help you get different jobs, but I don't think they'd shell the money out for that. What can I do to stand out in help desk? Well, you can always stand up on your desk in the middle of the office and then go, "Oh, Captain, my Captain!" That'll make you stand out. No, but in all honesty, the thing that sucks about help desk is there's not all that much you can do to stand out per se, other than opening tickets, closing them, escalating them, all of that. Because help desk, you're just tier 1. You're basically the intake. You're hardly ever the one finding the solution, because in most cases, in most companies, they want you to escalate it to who can actually do it, or you're going to have a script to run off of. So with help desk, it's your entry level. Focus on what you can do there, build up your skills and your experience, and then look to move on up, whether it's in the company or outside of the company. CISO equals stressor, pretty much. Any tips to build my portfolio for cybersecurity? GitHub and run a blog and link to it, like WordPress or Drupal or whatever, and document the stuff that you're doing in your home lab. That's a lot of what I do. What happens if an SSD overheats? Well, then you should probably take an egg, crack it over, and you can get a nice omelet. I'm kidding. If an SSD is overheating, I mean, generally it'll just thermal throttle and it'll just go at a slower speed. You recommend homemade labs for help desk roles? Yeah. I always recommend a home lab. Okay, we're gonna go through a few more questions before I move on to the content we gotta review for the day. pfSense CE or OpenSense? I personally use pfSense because of PF Blocker NG. I hear some people like OpenSense, and, you know, I'm not going to put hate on either one. I just say that I've done pfSense longer, I know it better, and I like PF Blocker NG, and I haven't found a way to replicate that on OpenSense. I hear some people say Zen Armor, but apparently you have to pay for the feature that PF Blocker NG does for free. New to cybersecurity, should I get my Security Plus first? I won't say you should definitely get it. I'm saying it can't hurt. Just playing production, no biggie. Yeah! Just, you know, test and production. Nothing ever can go wrong. Make sure you tell them that when you're in the unemployment line. With a home lab, what are my limitations with the Raspberry Pi versus building another computer for it? Generally, it's the limitation of the hardware itself. That's the main limitation. But you can do a lot with a Raspberry Pi. I've got a lot of Raspberry Pis for my stuff. I want to build an ERP-like app. Do you know any sources to learn the business flow? ERP, are you talking like enterprise resource planning? If so, Microsoft Office Dynamics 365. That is an ERP you can look at using. There are a few other platforms out there for ERP, if that's the route you're talking about. But that's the one I can think of that's cost, you know, you can afford to get in. But yeah, if you're trying to learn the business flow, businesses are going to have different flows. Like, some are CapEx versus OpEx, some are goal-driven. It's a whole different thing. Have an IT internship at City Hall. What kind of cert should I get over the summer break? Are you grad in December? Look at the jobs you're trying to apply for, like I've said before, and go for the certs that they're generally asking for. Don't think that you have to get a cert just to have a cert. Go after the certs that make sense for the goals that you have in mind. What's your accent? Where are you from? I am from the great state of Denial in the USA. How did I start in cybersecurity? Originally, I started in IT, got into networking, and then I realized I really liked firewalls and the security aspects of things, so one thing led to another, and here I am. What's the best security camera? I wouldn't say there's the best. Like, some people like Unify. Some people like, what is it? Hike Vision. You know, you can do some stuff with that. Some people like Alarm.com cameras. There's a few good choices out there. Just avoid that Ring shit. There's so many issues going on with Ring right now. Just avoid it. Tailscale making their free tier is great. Does some of the best marketing. Why buy a system when another one allows you to test before you buy? That's kind of why I say Zscaler needs to move on. Where are you reading chats from? All 4 platforms I'm streaming to. What's a beginner level role for people with A+ and Network Plus? Help desk, junior sysadmin, junior network admin. To name a few. There's a few others out there. Mom uses Zscaler for her government job, work from home. I've learned so much just trying to get her logged in. Oh yeah. So you're probably using the Zscaler client connector, and they probably have some posturing there. Like if they have CrowdStrike, Zscaler will have to make sure CrowdStrike's running, and CrowdStrike can make sure Zscaler's running before it will even allow running, and then Zscaler can then do some, what do you call it? There's certain criteria, basically, it can check to make sure before you can proceed, like has your system been updated and all that. You're silly today. I'm silly every day. You look like you have 15 years of IT experience. Yeah, it's because I have no hair, because all the users have stressed us out. Tips for an intern. Don't eat the yellow snow. Come on, you left that a little bit open. Look, I saw an opportunity. I'm going to take it. Help desk or data center technician to reach my goal of network engineer. I mean, either one can help you get there. It's a matter of what the path is going to look like. What should I learn first? I'm doing Python right now. Everyone says different things. It's because there's so many different ways to go approaching things. I generally say go learn networking first before you do anything else, regardless of where you're in IT or cyber, because it's the foundation for pretty much everything you're going to deal with. Python's not a bad thing to learn, though, too. Choose cybersecurity if you're a masochist or a sadist. Either works, just depends on whether you're SOC, IAM, GRC, etc. Yeah, that's pretty true. What do you think of Why does everyone keep talking about Anthropic Mythos? Look, I said this earlier in the stream. I don't believe shit until it's in your hand. They've done this overhyping marketing BS for years in AI. Back in GPT-2. GPT-2. Which was 2017. They were saying the same BS. Oh, we're afraid to release it to the world because of the havoc it'll release. They tried to say the same thing with GPT-5. And, what was it? Claude Opus. Sure, they're all useful. But they're not really, like, changing the game that much. AI is just a tool. At the end of the day, it's a tool. And until you actually have the product in your hand, marketers are going to market and spin a whole bunch of BS to get you hyped up and talking about it. And I think the biggest problem that we've had in the AI situation right now for the past few years is everyone's buying the hype BS. Because everyone's trying to get investors to still put money into their product. Because all of the vendors out there, short of Google and Facebook, are spending more money than they are making. I think, what is it? Like, even Anthropic, which is in the best position out of the other startups, it's still, if I recall correctly, making 10 cents of every dollar they spend. So they essentially have to run on investment to keep the lights on going as it is right now. And the same thing goes on with OpenAI. Google and Facebook, or Meta now, are companies that have revenue from other sources so they can spend billions of dollars and not bat an eye at it. I am engineer here with the SailPoint experience. I'm sorry for your situation. I don't know if there's any future to this. There is future to it. What's going to eventually happen is once the AI bubble pops, people are going to go back to a sense of normalcy of realizing AI is just a tool. I don't think AI is going to ever go away. It's just we're going to get away from the overhyped BS that we have with it. It's a tool. It's a useful tool, but it's a tool nonetheless. Should I try and get a job before bachelor's in cybersecurity? You can try, but generally, if you don't have any experience, at least in IT, they generally will be a hard time finding a job in cybersecurity. They want that background experience. Is that Datadog on your t-shirt? Yeah, I stole like 3 of these from a user group a few years ago. They're comfy. Found a vulnerability in Linux. Look, Mythos is just another AI. Look, they found vulnerabilities using Claude Opus. All it is it's trained on a bunch of other people and how they've done things, and it's applying the same methodology. You're talking about human-created software having flaws because humans are inherently flawed. Humans will never make a perfect application. It may be perfect in that point in time, but the farther we walk away from it, the more we see of the entire picture, and the more we can see the flaws. Is it possible to break through without a degree these days? It's possible, but it's getting less probable with whatchamacallit. checkboxes and application tracking systems and all that they're doing. Would I recommend to get a job in cybersecurity? Few years in IT, under your belt, home labbing, curiosity, and a desire to never stop learning. All right, let's move into whatever content we had left from a week ago, or where were we on the review on stream content? It's been a while. Oh, maybe we can start with this. So I don't know if you saw this story. Grafana Ghost bypasses Grafana AI defenses without leaving a trace. So they were able to use prompt injection to turn Grafana's own AI into an unwilling courier for sensitive corporate data. If you're not familiar with Grafana, Grafana is the dashboard system that I use for all of my stuff in my home lab. They apparently have some like AI to help look through things. I think that's at the enterprise level. So that was interesting because a lot of businesses are using Grafana to pull in all their data sources to be able to visualize that data. I love Grafana. It's a great open source product. But yeah, so you're probably going to find more vulnerabilities as AI gets more and more used, and it'll be fun. In the sarcastic kind of way. Although I did know a few friends of mine that actually popped the Chipotle bot and got free burritos before they hit them up and told them about the issues and they patched it. They got the free burritos as partial payment. What website is this? This is cyberscoop.com. It's worth of the job. AI is so useless, there is no use whatsoever at all. It's basically pointless. I would disagree with that. Anyone that says AI is useless hasn't used AI. Do I think that a lot of things with AI are overhyped? Absolutely. Is it useless? Absolutely not. And the people that keep saying it is useless are the people that are usually standing on some kind of moral or philosophical soapbox rather than looking at what is actually going on right now. I don't care what people's moral or philosophical issues with AI are, and I'm not saying you're wrong either, but I'm saying you're wrong to think that it's useless. Now, are a lot of people doing stupid things that are useless with AI? Absolutely, but look, that's just humanity. Where the hell was I? Alright, there we are. Huawei's Gamble. We got the thorium nuclear reactor we are watching last stream. Catching up. Oh, we got the Detroit. Okay, we did go through the mushroom building supplies. Alright, so let's continue on. This is from Leon LeGray. My impressions with Intel Arc, why I chose Arc over GeForce GPUs. I've been interested in the Intel Arcs for a while. Don't know if I'm going to really switch over to them. I still use GeForce because of CUDA, but we'll see. This video is about 29 minutes. Don't know if we'll watch the full thing, but let's see what they got.
Hello, everyone. Good day, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening to this podcast. So today, I'm going to be...
Is the audio working for you all?
On Intel
Yeah, it
Arc.
is.
And one of the recent things I've been hearing lately with Intel Arc, it's been, I'd say it's been pretty good. The amount of feedback, and I'm sure not many...
Companies want to hire people who know AI over you anti-AI people. Yep, Kara, you're right.
Say though, I happen
What camera do I use? I'm using a Sony ZV-E10 for the camera. And then all of my computer stuff is going through an Elgato 4K Pro that I just installed today because my last capture card may have been having some issues.
to like that. We're in a good position with now Intel. I say Intel has been in the GPU world for I would say for a bit. It haven't
Is the
been around
ThinkPad
for a long
T16 good
time.
for cybersecurity?
With NVIDIA and
It depends on what you're doing with
NVIDIA
cybersecurity.
But this is good
But
because
ThinkPads generally are pretty great.
my 2 cents of why we definitely need a third competitor on this.
People don't
space.
realize how much water and energy video streaming takes up.
I see with
Oh yeah, that's the one thing. I just had to pause the video. That's the one thing that really irks me with these people that are like, AI is taking so much water and energy, and I'm like, I'm not going to dispute that argument there, but do you know how much water and energy you are using every time you do an internet query? When you could have thought about the thing or gone to a library and picked a book out? These are the things a lot of people don't know how to really, I forget what the proper word would be, but basically they don't think critically about these issues. And a lot of the water usage that people are talking about data centers is becoming less of an issue because they're learning to close those loops so that water basically gets contained and reused. That's been the cycle for a lot more data centers, and now data centers are building a lot more of their energy systems too for their own stuff. That's because the energy grid is not capable of it. And I actually do stand by the belief that if you're going to build a data center that needs megawatts of power, then you should be able to generate your own power. But yeah.
Intel, and while people have criticized Intel in the past with CPUs, but
If you don't get on the AI train, the trail will leave without you. The same people who say they are anti-AI are the same ones from the movie 2009 Surrogate that live outside the city away from tech.
We're talking about
Interesting.
2000.
You take 1 hour showers.
We're talking about less than 5 years right now too. So 4 years, because in
Okay, this is just one long podcast here. Look, unless it's Darknet Diaries, I'm not interested in listening to a podcast. Unfortunately, just Dev here. So we're gonna move on. This is from Kara. This is the Lunduk Journal. Brian Lunduk. Okay, so I used to follow Brian Lunduk a lot. He was one of the Linux influencers that got me onto a lot of the interesting technologies. He was a really cool dude, but like over the past few years, he's kind of like gone on the political tangent and, you know, fork in the road. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I've just kind of like been like, you kind of going like way off on a tangent here from the things that I used to find cool about you. And I'm not too much of a fan of people that like to go into, you know, culture war kind of crap. Because I'm a show me the money, show me the code kind of person. But with that being said, he did help get me into a lot of the other tech early on in his content days. That got me down the path of Linux to the point that I'm at. And I think he was actually the person that turned me on to System 76 and Purism, as well as Cubes OS back in the day, like many, many, many years ago. This is Jack Ryder, and you're watching Tales from the Darknet Diaries. Oh, one of my friends was on Darknet Diaries recently. She was showing off the Bad Box stuff. I think that was the most recent podcast, if I'm not mistaken, they had. So yeah, my buddy was there. She was showing me her findings when I was at DEF CON last year. It's a good, you know, stuff there. So, like, yeah, dead ass, yeah. Yeah, she's in a couple of my Signal chats with some friends and stuff. I'm not going to pull it up and show you, but yeah, I was hanging with her. One of my friends introduced me to her at the QueerCon mixer at B-Sides. And then we would just hang out here and there, and she's a freaking riot. She's hilarious. Yeah, she was fun to hang around at the pool party at B-Sides. The Bad Box. No, it's not a joke. It's a real thing. Bad Box are these Android set-top boxes people are buying to get like cracked TV shows and all that, and a lot of them are riddled with malware and stuff. But anyway, let's watch this.
The CachyOS team CachyOS is an Arch Linux-based, performance-focused Linux distribution. The CachyOS team has begun censoring anyone who asks about age verification in CachyOS and has labeled anyone who has concerns about age verification as radicals. Say what now? I'm going to read through the entire
Wait, what?
statement to you, or at least the bulk of it here, because it's really, really bizarre. It's just all over the map. At parts, it almost looks like...
B-sides where? Oh yeah, when I was a hacker summer camp.
And that maybe CachyOS will not be doing age verification, and then they go off in a completely different direction and almost seem to vilify anyone who doesn't like age verification.
Wait, I thought CatchyOS was one of the ones that were like ardently against age verification. Did they make a 180? Is that what I'm picking up over here? CatchyOS age verification. Oh, damn, they actually have been. Okay, so hold on. So they did call out Lunduk here, and apparently Lunduk posted this on Twitter and either took it out of context, making it seem like it represents Catchy as a whole, or didn't know Nutcase is just a forum moderator. You can say he's a nutcase. That's not me calling him an offensive name. That is literally his handle. I am a forum moderator. CatchyOS is based in Germany, with founders in both Germany and Russia. Laws for age verification do not exist here. So the conclusion, CatchyOS is doing nothing about age verification. CatchyOS utilizes the systemd framework. There is no plans to stop using this or using an alternative. CatchyOS does not implement anything to do with age verification using systemd. And the systemd stuff they're talking about was just some additional JSON fields that were optional. It's just kind of there. The conclusion, CatchyOS will continue to use the systemd framework, and I might as well leave this here. Okay, age verification, CatchyOS is not located in areas where this is a thing. CatchyOS is not doing anything in regards to this. Systemd, CatchyOS uses systemd. If you don't want to use systemd, find another distribution. Fair enough. I've been saying the same thing. Stop asking about these two things. Stop attacking people about these two things. Stop being radical about these two things. If anything is to change about these two things, there will be an announcement made. If I personally see radical postings relating to these two things, I won't bother to just waste time removing the post. I will remove you. You are not contributing anything of use here. Apologize if this comes off too forward or direct, like I am this way. Well, but I am this way, and my intentions are pure, truthful, and clear. For those with understanding and respect for CatchyOS, thank you for choosing CatchyOS. We appreciate you being here and enjoying the ride. I recommend everyone to read Garuda's posting about both of these topics. Okay. That seems like a rather fair take. From nutcase to note, if I personally see radical postings, these words are not for censorship. These words are not meant to be taken as threats. I'm not a threatening person. I am, however, a person that wants to keep the peace. Fair enough. And these are the most effective measures to keep the peace. These are the measures that allow myself and the team time saved dealing with the conflicts that present themselves from these topics. The answers for these topics are above. Okay. I mean, that seems like a rather fair take, to be honest here. So what is Lunduk going on about, and is this another case of where I'm like, this is kind of why I stopped, listening to a lot of your ramblings here. With all due respect, I mean, he was a great journalist back in the Linux Journal days, and his stories about being a tester at Microsoft and everything were very entertaining. I learned about a lot of things from him, so I do have to give him respect there. But it's just feeling like he's entered for the past, 5, maybe 10 or so years of his life into his old man yelling at cloud phase of life, if that makes sense.
And I want to point out why this is important. CachyOS which is Arch-based, focused on performance, and is a good system. It absolutely is. It's a quality Linux distribution. They've become incredibly popular over the last several months. In fact, CachyOS has, and just let me show you this here because it's really remarkable. It is, I just posted this up on X with a few screenshots so people could see.
Age verification Linux was the originating event. California and Colorado passing laws that require all operating systems to require users to attest their age and have an API open for applications to be able to pull from, so they have signals as to the age group of the user. I shit you not. That is a thing that happened. And I made an entire YouTube video going into this about, I think it said, I called it something like, they want you to use your ID for your operating system or something like that.
They have taken the #1 spot on DistroWatch, top spot, right? Now,
We gotta get old people out of office. Damn straight! Problem is, all the old people have the money, so they can afford to run for Congress while the rest of us are just doing what we can to survive.
Everything else, it's top. It's like almost double the hits per day to the DistroWatch page of Linux.
The people advocating for reduced use of AI are aware of everything they do online takes power, water, etc. But the fact that AI is a resource heavy as it is, and it's a new thing, means they can more easily get people to notice the difference of the world pre and post AI and get them to participate in movements to attempt to curb the effects of data centers in the environment. Similar to politicians, these people are not incompetent. I don't know, I'd say a lot of politicians aren't incompetent, but that's a whole other discussion.
Mint of the #2 spot. Over on the ProtonDB, which ProtonDB is a website that tracks compatibility and performance of various types of games, like Windows games running under Linux. And what's neat about that is you can then use that to see, okay, for people who are using services like ProtonDB to track gaming under Linux, what Linux distributions are they using, right? And it stands to reason that performance-focused distributions would do a little bit better on ProtonDB than, say, other distributions might, because, well, people playing games are really concerned about their performance. But CachyOS has, as of last month, I believe, taken the #1 spot on ProtonDB as well, overtaking Arch and everything else. Mint, Bazzite, Ubuntu, you name it. CachyOS is the #1, and the growth trend is remarkably fast. Even over on the Steam hardware compatibility page, the Steam monthly hardware survey that Valve puts out, CachyOS is not the #1, but it's really, really friggin' high. Outside of Steam OS itself, CachyOS is almost the #2. It's right at the #3 spot, just behind traditional.
I'm not giving people that pay their bills what they need. Yeah.
8.59% and growing very rapidly. And that's 8.59% of all Linux installations using the Steam gaming client, right? But that's still, those are very, very big numbers considering how wildly fragmented the entire world of Linux gaming and Linux in general is. All right, so, and I say all that to...
Okay, so you're showing the screenshot we read through, so we'll see what he's saying and see if I agree with this take or if I look at it a different way.
Point out how immensely popular CachyOS is becoming. So when they make this statement here, it's important. It carries a fair bit of weight. So here's the statement, and it is a bizarre statement that uses, as far as I can see, absolutely no punctuation whatsoever. And this is an official statement. I'm just going to read it to you now.
Absolutely no punctuation. I'd see a comma right there. Ha! Debunked. I'm kidding.
Age verification system D. Age verification. CachyOS is not located in areas where this is a thing. CachyOS is not doing anything in regards to this.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second. So far, so good, right? So far, that seems like CachyOS is saying because they're not located in Brazil or a state in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Brazil's doing this too.
Age verification laws, that maybe they just don't have to do anything about it. Okay, fine. That seems reasonable. In fact, there are a couple of Linux distributions that are taking somewhat similar stances right now. Of we're just not going to do anything related to age verification because we're not in a locale where we need to.
Okay.
If they stopped right there, the statement's not so bad. It continues. Systemd. CachyOS uses Systemd.
Okay.
If you don't want to use Systemd, find another distribution. Okay, let's take another stop for a second. So this is all in response to multiple users, a lot of users,
Right.
asking the developers and the team behind CachyOS if they would be implementing age verification or if they would be just simply inheriting the supporting of age verification features that have recently been added into Systemd, because Systemd doesn't have age verification in it, but they added in user data storage fields for storing.
Right. Just some JSON stuff, if I remember.
You have to have your date of birth for every user located in your init script. Yeah. But I digress.
I don't know why, but okay.
So we're concerned about it. And so now what CachyOS is saying is that they use Systemd, and if you don't like it, you can hit the road jack. Okay, so now it's starting to veer towards the maybe they won't implement age verification themselves, but will inherit it, so CachyOS will have it. I'm not 100% sure what they're trying to say here. But then it gets even friggin' weirder. Quote.
Okay, so with this point there, so I will say this. The anti-Systemd crowd got extremely vocal over Systemd adding this stuff. And there have been quite a few users, not specifically to CachyOS. I've seen this in multiple different OS forums for different things, have been saying, can we just get a version of this without Systemd as a whole? Rather than just saying, are we going to be using these fields or not? Are they just going to exist there and we have no intention of using it? There was a good amount of people that are like, screw this, I'm going to go back to initd. Okay? So that's where the point is from there. And I can understand being on somebody on the other side of things where you're inundated with a lot of messages. You're just like, I'm done here. We're not going to talk about this anymore. Because there are people that straight up, like I said, have been saying, I don't want us to use Systemd anymore, not realizing Systemd is now a core requirement of a lot of other components now. Like, even when I'm doing my timers now, I no longer do cron jobs on systems. I do Systemd timers. Which means, in order to use some of my scripts, you have to use Systemd. And at first I was annoyed by Systemd even existing in the first place, but over time I actually grew to love it. What is tinfoil hat Linux? Isn't that the fun Linux that like really hardened down everything, if I'm not mistaken? There was a distribution that did that. I love how almost everyone who's non-technical is all for age verification. Yeah, it's always the people that don't know what they're talking about that are all for something else. Like, a lot of the people that aren't involved in AI, for example, are the ones, like, really worried about, like, AI replacing everybody's job, when I'm like, it'll maybe remove some people's jobs, but more likely it's just going to change how a lot of us do our jobs.
Stop, all in caps, asking about these two things. Stop, all in caps, attacking people about these two things. Stop, all in caps, being radical about these two things. If anything is to change with these two things, there will be an announcement made. If I personally see radical postings related to these two things, I won't bother to just waste time removing the post. I will remove you. You are not contributing anything of use here. I apologize if this comes off as too forward or direct. End quote. Holy heavens. Okay, well now we need more information. We need more information than this, because stop being radical about these two things. Is he saying
I'm in the UK. All the backlash there, he was shut down by accusing those against it being Preds. Yup. And the ironic thing is that the people accusing those people of being PDF files are probably the ones that were closet PDF files too. Like, didn't y'all just have like some minister or something like that got appointed that was found in the Epstein files, and now Keir Starmer is like all in the hot seat or something like that, if I'm not mistaken?
that people are acting inappropriately regarding when they're asking about age verification and the like? So I started looking around the CashieOS forum, and lo and behold, man, they are censoring everything. There was a 300 comment thread they've just deleted entirely. That was just, as far as I could tell, I mean, I only read, I don't know, maybe a third of it before the darn thing got deleted, because
I mean, the people who wrote laws
that's as far as I got.
Against us trans people got arrested for hooking up with or photos of kids. Oh yeah, like what was it? There was a running joke I remember growing up, because like there were so many politicians that were like anti-LGBT that got caught with male courtesans, shall we say. Like, I always side-eye the most homophobic people, because I tend to look at them and being like, you're probably going about this extra hard because you probably are trying to cover up something. I'm not saying like everyone that is against it is that way, but generally that's what I notice. Because like, look, the average person that isn't gay kind of is like, yo, I'm a dude, I'm not into other dudes, you do you, it's not my cup of tea. As long as you're not forcing yourself on them, they're just kind of cool and chill with it. That's the average response. But those that go out of their way to vilify you for, you know, wanting to do your own thing, generally are closeted and generally jealous that you can go do the thing because they have some moral wires crossed in their brain for some reason. Yeah. Been following a while, 28-year-old female cyber enthusiast. I'm making an OSINT platform and would love your feedback, DM. Yeah, you can definitely do that, but my TikTok notifications are flooded, so the easiest thing would be to connect with me over Discord or Matrix. The links are in the bio for that. What I don't get is, aren't Preds smart enough to encrypt their data or bypass CSAM image hashing? Nope. Alright. Story time. Before we get into this, back into this. So a friend of mine told me when they were in a SOC of some large utility company, I'm not going to get into the name, but they work for them. They told me at least several times a week, they had to file a CSAM report of content they found being CSAM. You should know what that is, okay? Do you know how a lot of these people were caught on the networks? It's going to blow your mind when you realize how dumb it is. So when you open up your phone and you happen to be connected to a Wi-Fi connection, whether you're guest or, BYOD networks, your phone, when you open it up, will have tabs open and whatever, and will go dial out, and then they can see that network traffic. So we've all had that, shall we say, tab's still open on our phone, that when we go to open it again, we're like, oh, let me close that. Many of us have been there. Don't lie. You have. Anyway, the same thing happens with those predators. And it gets seen on that company's network. And then they'd have to file a report, and they have all that. That's how they caught a lot of people. Blows your mind when you realize just how dumb a lot of these people are. But yeah, a lot of them are not that smart on this stuff. That's why it's kind of funny when people are saying like, oh, you know, the dark net, we gotta, protect them from the dark net and all that. And I'm like, most of the child exploitation is happening on Roblox and Discord. Not even encrypted parts of the internet. It's deep web, not dark web. Maybe more so. But yeah, that's the reality. But all of our politicians would rather go after darknet because they can then catch up journalists and all the people that are activists and all that using those systems. They'd rather go after encrypted systems that happen to, protect your identity and your information a little bit more, because then law enforcement can't get backdoors to them. But they don't give a shit about Roblox or Discord that actually are the real problems. Like, don't get me wrong. I have Discord. I use Discord. But they should definitely, Discord should definitely be held accountable for the balls they've been dropping, and not in the great way. Like, Roblox, same thing. They've been caught on BS so many times. The fact that the Roblox, I think it was CEO, was so gung-ho on like, oh, we gotta, make it so it's 17 plus. Bro, they're a minor at 17. 18 minimum. Like, dude, I'm even of the mindset, like, I see an 18-year-old, you're still a kid to me. If you're below 25, I am generally not interested. Don't even waste your time. I still believe Wayfair was trafficking. Thoughts on Matsubrai? It's alright. You're groomed on Discord when you're 15. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Hope you're doing alright, though. That's kind of rough. Do I play Roblox? Do I look like I play Roblox? I have never played that game. The closest I've gotten to Roblox is seeing my niece play it. Not my cup of tea. You heard about the 19 kids and counting second family arrest? I did not.
But it didn't seem...
Back to the video.
Ridiculous. It seemed pretty. Mostly, it was just one person.
Looks like you play old people games.
Verification.
What the hell is old people games? Or did you forget that, like, my generation is primarily why you have the games that you do? If you're going around saying I play old people games, you're the person that couldn't stand 5 minutes in a COD lobby. The COD lobbies I grew up with. I'm just saying.
CashOS. Another person that got censored literally posted this, quote, "Is CashOS going to implement age verification? Question mark." That was it. That was the entire post. There was no, the title of the post was simply age verification. That got locked and censored, and no one else was allowed to respond to it.
You judge grown men that play Roblox and kind of judge them in your head because that's not normal? Look, I'm not saying, like, you can't be older and play these games. Like, look. There are grown men watching My Little Pony, a kid's show. Do I necessarily get it? No, but look, if they're not harming anyone, who cares? The problem that I have with Roblox is more so that, the company itself doesn't have enough guardrails, and even when they are told about their issues, they don't do anything about it.
Persons simply...
Roblox is a kid's game. Well, Pokemon is a kid's game. I'm wearing a Pikachu hat! What's a kid's thing today is for adults tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. Like, come on, my generation still gets teary-eyed over Steve from Blue's Clues.
said,
Does Pop OS have good NVIDIA support? Yeah.
switching to liberated System D would cause
If you're 40 and playing with little Timmy that is 7 years old, then yeah, that's weird. That's weird regardless of the game. You could make that argument about Call of Duty or anything else. The exception to that rule being that 7-year-old is a member of your family or happens to be there with their parent. Like, my buddy has kids that are 7 or 8 years old. If I'm playing with my buddy and his kid, that's cool. You get what I'm saying there? Because I'm just kind of in the uncle role there. Yeah, just do not have conversations with the kid. Exactly. It's one thing if, you're in a random COD lobby and there happens to be a 7-year-old. There shouldn't really be a 7-year-old in a COD lobby. And you're just like, let's go, GG, let's get them W's, or however the hell you kids talk these days. I don't know. I'm old right there. But the point being, as long as you're not doing anything weird, then it shouldn't be weird.
issues with CachyOS if I install it.
Same with Minecraft, yeah.
That was the whole question. Now, liberated System D is a maintained fork of System D where the only change is the removal of the age verification fields. So those date of birth fields, and that's it. And just basically a change patch that gets reapplied to every new version of System D that just kind of patches out those age verification fields. And so this user was like, hey, I use CachyOS. If I install liberated System D, would that cause problems? Would that cause issues? That post was immediately flagged, censored, and locked down. Again, there was not any. There's not any threats that I saw. I went looking through everything I could find, and I couldn't find a single threat of violence. I couldn't find people swearing up a storm. I couldn't find people calling names. I mean, it might exist, but I couldn't find them. I looked through.
You say type shit.
And,
that's the thing to say now?
At one point, one of the CachyOS team members, a moderator on the forum, said something to that effect of, people are being threatened here and getting radical. I couldn't find any of that. In fact, they were just deleting pages after.
To be fair, those threats could be DMs. Those messages that they deleted could have already had that stuff. Should they have documented it? Yes. But I've seen a lot of people get crazy about this whole age verification thing. There were people that were like wildly pissed off at Pop OS saying they may have to implement it because they're in Colorado, where they're unfortunately at the mercy of the Colorado government. Have you watched Mr. Robot before? Just finishing. It's got me paranoid, but I feel it's warranted. Yeah, I've watched Mr. Robot, but the honest truth is, after the first season, it sucks. The first season was the best because that was the most technically accurate that I've ever seen of any show or movie. And then after that, they're like, hey, you gotta stop because people are actually learning from this. God forbid people actually learn how cybersecurity actually works.
Just faster than I could screenshot all of them, really. So maybe they're in there, but dang it, I couldn't find anything that was certainly not radical. So that leads me to believe that the CachyOS team views as radical anyone who simply asks about age verification.
I don't agree with this point here. This is where I'm saying he's kind of going on the whole, like, tangent, and this is why I went from really respecting and admiring Lunduke to, like, dude, you're going on, like, culture war tirades and all that. Absence of evidence is not evidence in and of itself. He's now making an opinion assuming that they're just taking the stance of anyone asking this, when I can tell you, like, let me put it this way, like, I have a lot of people in my chat that are asking me continuously about Claude Mythos And I'm annoyed by it because I've said the same thing dozens of times. The point being, could I shut it down and just say we're not going to do it at all? Yeah. At a certain point, when you're a moderator, and bear in mind, moderators and a lot of these open source project teams, they're not used to exposure of a lot of these things and dealing with a lot of these interactions that go on that maybe a lot of us content creators are. They're more like just trying to get the products done, work through bugs, do that thing. Just because they are right now locking down posts that people happen, to have been saying things about identity verification that the posts in and of themselves probably shouldn't have been locked down, and they may just get lumped in, isn't that they're going around saying anyone talking about this is radical. I see it more from the perspective of, we do not even want to waste time talking about the subject. We've talked about it so many times before that we're just going to move on from it. In the very same way that, I'm kind of getting tired of people coming in and asking me about Claude Mythos and me saying repeatedly, until we have the actual software in our hands, it's marketing BS at this point. We can stop talking about this and move on about talk about other things that are important. That's the kind of perspective I'm seeing from CatchyOS about this. Because you have to remember, just like most of my moderators in my team, they are volunteers. I'd like to get to the point where I can, pay them properly for their time and everything, but I'm not at that point. But the point being, these moderators are volunteers inside of the operating system stuff that you don't want to burn them out.
So if you say, I'm concerned with age verification, you're a radical and you're getting censored. I mean, just one after another. And I put the link to where I got this statement from right there in my post over on X. So you can go find it yourself. It's on discuss.cashios.org. I have a link directly to it. I screenshotted a few things so that I wouldn't lose them. I now wish I would have screenshotted more. Lesson. Screenshot early, screenshot often. People ask me regularly, when I post things on X or do videos around these shows, a lot of times I don't even bother with providing the direct link necessarily for things. I screenshot everything and then link to it secondarily. And the reason is, people change things and delete things constantly, like off the...
That part is true, which is why we recommend archive.org for stuff.
Parts. I've even had it for a while. I used to link to archive.org cached versions of pages, but then archive.org started censoring pages. So I'm like, well, crud, I need to rely on screenshots. And if you send me in a news tip, yes, provide the original link to where it comes from, but also send me a screenshot. I can't even tell you how many times in the last week alone someone will have sent me in a news tip, sometimes relating to the age verification stuff, with a link to a statement or a post or a tweet or a forum post or something.
Yeah, when you need a screenshot websites, all you have to do is a little plug-in that auto-uploads websites to your archive while you're on it.
It's already gone.
Yeah.
Or censored.
I never think of that
In some way. So screenshot.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense. There should be something like that.
Screenshot and link. Both. You gotta do both. And it's somewhat interesting because then you can look at what they've decided to censor, right? So CashiOS, their forum is getting censored just regularly. I mean, they are on top of it. I mean, stuff gets posted and taken down like that. I mean, sometimes within minutes. So the question is, and this is, I think, a fair question, is where does CashiOS stand in regards to age verification? Now, this is how it reads to me. It reads to me like they're clearly against anyone who is against age verification, right?
That's not how I'm reading it. This is how you're inferring it. And as we, saw in this image over here, like he had part of it, but when you miss the context all the way down here, like there's more context here that I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. You're probably just getting pulled to, your wits' ends, that you just don't want to entertain this anymore.
Radicals.
Fair enough.
So I'm a radical. You're probably a radical because you're against age verification. If you ask about age verification, you get censored, no matter what. And again, we're not talking about making extreme statements. We're talking about literally, is CashEOS going to implement age verification? I can't think of a more bland, direct, and polite way to ask that without adding in the word please and thank you.
I think this is not a case of they went after this because it just had that. It just happened to be caught in the crossfire when they were locking down all the posts. Because if you had, like, as he admitted himself, there were dozens of conversations about this same topic. And you only have a certain amount of bandwidth to moderate all of these sites because you have a limited small team of mostly volunteers. So I think it was more of a way of, let's not even waste time going through this, save our bandwidth, and just nip it in the bud.
Please, right? I mean, like, other than adding please and thank you, dear sirs and madams, is CashEOS going to implement age verification? Like, maybe that would be more polite. Don't know. I can't. It is absolutely ridiculous. So I haven't added CashEOS to my running list of which systems are or are not going to implement age verification yet, because the current statement is too bizarre. It kinda sounds like they maybe don't want to, but it also kind of sounds like maybe they do want to, and they...
No, they're just kind of in the middle, and as Nutcase even said himself, he's just a moderator. He doesn't have any power over this. He's just trying to keep the peace in the community. This is why I think Lunduk is reading a little bit too much into this. And I say this as someone that is opposed to all this age verification BS. I think this is making a mountain out of a molehill. This was just moderators that are annoyed to their wits' end that they keep having to respond to things about verification. That's what I read it more as than, oh, this is just some political thing or that. No, it's like, dude, we got hundreds of people asking about this. Let's move on. There's an outbreak in hacked accounts in Discord this week. We didn't even bother muting members. Straight to /ban as we don't have the manpower. Exactly. See? Look, there's even like, look, I am, moderating my page along with a few of my other moderators, but they can't be on every platform. So I tend to be a little bit more trigger happy with muting and banning on the TikTok side, because I'm the only one administrating that, than say the YouTube or Twitch sides, because I have mods that can sit there and, babysit it. And there's a certain point where it's like, if you're just in the chat to troll and throw shade, you're not going to be productive to this community. Bye, Felicia. And that's how I'm reading this whole CashEOS drama here. And this is, in part, one small example of why I've kind of, while I still have respect for Lunduk for a lot of the stuff he taught me over the years, with various Linux and technology things, and, introducing me to, like, really cool concepts, and he was one of the, like, first, like, Linux creators, like, straight Linux creators I followed. I feel like over the past decade, he's kind of veered off into his old man yelling at cloud phase of life, and goes on these tangents that it feels like, okay, Grandpa, let's get you back to, your music class or whatever. How hard is it to learn Linux server? I want to try to get my RHCSA for a job I have minimum Linux experience. hard per se, it's just different. You'll actually find, as you get into Linux server administration, if you've come from the Windows system administration background, Linux is easier to wrap your head around a lot of the concepts as to opposed Windows server administration. Said Ubuntu, why is it getting so big? What about Ubuntu? There is a /ban him to that. I'm opposed to age verify, and I see the viewpoint you're expressing. Yeah. No trolls, I'll see myself out. Well, let me put it this way. I'm okay with a little lighthearted trolling, but I've seen some trolls in here that are intentionally going out of their way to not be productive to the community and the chat as a whole. Like, there was already, I think, just in this stream, 3 people I just outright blocked on the TikTok chat because they were just starting shit. And a couple of them were even just, like, directly trying to insult me, and I'm like, dude, I don't got time for this. Moving on.
Definitely aren't going to avoid it.
Ubuntu needs 2 gigahertz CPU, 6 gigabyte of RAM, and a lot more space all of a sudden. Okay, that is a bit heavy. I mean, the 2 gigahertz CPU, I mean, that's kind of commonplace for a lot of things, but yeah, that's kind of interesting. Have to look into that.
Maybe I'm going to hold off adding it to the list for the moment because I need clarification. I really, like, I don't want to put words in their mouth. I don't want to make a...
You don't want to put words in their mouth, but you literally read a statement from a moderator that, as we showed, seems to be a little bit out of context here. And it's a moderator who has no power whatsoever over this. And again, as we said, it's reading more like a moderator that was at their wit's end and was just, you know, like, I'm tired of all these. It's not constructive to the community. At this time, we, you know, want to move on with more important things. Let's just lock all the threads that are related to it, whether or not they were, you know, mean or that. Because, unfortunately, there were quite a few people I saw with, that were threatening devs. Now, maybe not in Catchy OS that I saw, but I've seen it in other places, where, like, in the Pop OS forums, people were, like, getting really angry at System 76 for, you know, the Colorado thing and all that, but, yeah. Sword they can cut glass. Hey, Just Dev. Go back to watching your femboys.
Grand statement about what CatchyOS is or isn't going to do based on this muddled, bizarre statement. But what we can say for relative certain is that CatchyOS...
Is it the same mod from Reddit with the YouTube video rant? When you say same mod from Reddit, are you talking about this? This was not originally on Reddit. This was on Catchy's own forum. But this is the longer thing, because Lunduke only showed this part right here. There's all this down here, too. Reddit was just where I grabbed the screenshot from.
Is opposed to anyone who is opposed to age verification.
No, they're not.
That much I think we can say for certain.
No, we can't say for certain. Because you only showed this part, and then you read too much into it, and then there's another clarification there. And this is just a moderator. Just a moderator. Oh, the AI read it. I'm a little lost here. Oh! The live stream fails mod? That one you're talking about? No. Different
Bizarre
thing.
stance. Like, there's certain stands.
Yeah, Lunduke, yeah. Like, okay, we're gonna move on from this. You gotta get the point right now. It feels like he's trying to infer things that aren't even there and is reading things out of context. And again, I can respect Brian Lunduke for being the journalist he was back at the Linux Journal. He was one of the creators that I first followed for learning Linuxy things. And then over the past 10 years, he kind of made this like hard right turn into culture wars and political drama inside the open source community and everything. And there's already been a few times, this is just the latest incident, where I've been like, no, you're making a mountain out of a molehill and reading things out of context here to convey something that I don't even think is trying to be conveyed here. It's not even an argument of, like, we have an ideological or philosophical disagreement. It's that the evidence that he's looking at doesn't even support the statements that he's saying, especially when you dig into it. What's up, Jessica? How's it going? Okay, anyway, let's move on. I think we got the point here. Alex Ziskind, this shouldn't be able to run 120B locally. Vampire shared this. Okay, so what's this?
If you want to carry a local and private 120 billion parameter large language model, you
Yes,
might
I
need
do.
something like this. Big, expensive GPUs and computers. But what if I told you that 120 billion parameters can fit in your pocket? The first time I heard of something like
Okay,
that,
what?
Steve Jobs was putting it.
Like, I was thinking, like, you'd need at least, like, an NVIDIA DGX Spark, which is kind of, like, about this sized. This isn't one. I'm looking at getting DGX Sparks, but this is a Lenovo ThinkCenter Mini. Mother... I just dropped the computer on my foot. Thank God it's a mini PC. I put it on my books over here that were on top of the subwoofer, and then it just slid down. Yeah. I gotta get in the middle of cleaning and reorganizing my entire desk. $10 says this is that app that allows CPU offloading.
1,000 songs in my pocket. Well, this is a
He just wants to rage bait at this point. Yeah, that's kind of where I feel like Lunduk is kind of coming at with this. I mulched part of my front yard. I waited too long to weed, and I'm going to feel it in tomorrow morning. Oof. You know, if you get a little blowtorch, you can get rid of weeds pretty easily. Although, that works better for me, because I have gravel in areas.
slightly nerdier version than that. And no, I was not happy about Steve Jobs putting stuff in my pocket. Stay out of my pocket, Steve! For the past few years, AI hardware has been moving in one direction. Bigger GPUs, bigger servers, bigger clusters. And if you watch this channel, you know I've built a few of those. Now, something very different is starting to show up. This is Tiny AI Pocket Lab. And according to the company, this thing can run models up to 120 billion parameters locally, and that's a wild claim, so I need to check it out. And
Yeah.
One of the best known 120 billion parameter models right now is still GPT OSS 120B. It's not the newest model, but it's well known because it's OpenAI's first open weight model. And OpenAI says GPT OSS 120B is best with at least 60 gigabytes of VRAM. And it also says it runs more efficiently on a single 80 gigabyte GPU. That means I won't be able to even run it on my expensive RTX 5090, which only has 32 gigabytes.
If I had that kind of money, I'd be labbing it up.
Pocket Lab with this MacBook Neo that only has 8 gigabytes of memory. Just to give you an example, this is a 4 billion parameter model running on the MacBook and getting about 9 tokens per second. So let's find out whether this little box can actually pull this off. First of all, this thing really lives up to its name. This is my iPhone 16. This is this thing. I also have to weigh it. My iPhone with the case weighs 228 kilograms, excuse me.
I was gonna say.
48 grams. I could have guessed that. And Tiny weighs 305. And the reason I'm pairing it up with this MacBook...
Did he really need to adjust it to go from kilograms to grams? Like, dude, just move the decimal 3 places.
Neo is because the MacBook only has 8 gigs of...
Gemma 4 4B kind of slaps if you played with it. I haven't played with Gemma 4, but all of my announcements that go to Discord, Blue Sky, Matrix, and Mastodon, whenever I'm live or there's new video content, all gets passed through my local Olama using Gemma 312B. So I'll have to check it out. I may upgrade that model.
memory. There's no way you'll be able to run anything bigger than a 4 billion parameter model. Well, maybe. I'm doing a separate video on
I didn't even know Gemma 4 came out.
large language models and running them locally is space. 256 gigabytes SSD here. I'm already almost out of space here, and I just have software development to
A week or so ago? Okay.
imagine loading LLMs. This thing comes with 1 terabyte of SSD space, so you'll be able to load up a bunch of models. It also has its own CPU, and of course it has the memory, 80 gigabytes of it. so
Damn!
you can run larger models. Now to get going with this, I'm gonna
That little guy's got 80?
with a USB-C cable to PC, it says. Now it does operate up to 60 watts, 30 watt TDP, so you can actually power this externally by plugging in a USB adapter here into the power section of it. And I'm gonna power it on. There's a little light right there. It shows me that it's on. It shows it up as a drive, and I just need to double click on this to set up the software. Tiny OS, pop that open, and after
Ew, it's only got a Mac and a Windows version.
login, you just get to the chat screen, and right there I'm already chatting with this thing. I have chat available, I have agents available, I have an agent store, and all these different models that I can try. There's GPT OSS 120B that I was talking about. Let's click on that. I'm gonna try that out, and there it goes. Let's give it a little bit of a longer prompt just so you get a sense of how fast it's going on a 120 billion parameter model. This, by the way, is the default chat interface. Now people watching this channel might be interested in the fact that they have an SDK, not just the chat interface. That way you can interact with the models programmatically. Pip install
Okay, that's what I wanted to see.
Tiny SDK, boom. That's it. Now I can use this in my programs, load up a device, load up the models in my Python code. Or I can use this right from the terminal. So I can do tiny run, OpenAI GPT OSS 120B, and now I can interact with this fully through the command line. And they weren't kidding. It's 18 tokens per second for this model. Now this is completely offline and completely not connected to the internet. Everything is right here. You only
Okay, how much do you
if you
cost?
want to download new models. And so far, these are the ones that I have available to me that I've already downloaded. GPT.
Of course, they don't have a price over here. I'm gonna try to hit them up and see if I can get one of these. Look, there's sometimes I will swing my creator big dick if it involves free tech. Okay. So it looks like these are on a Kickstarter. 30% off. These are going to go for $2,000, it looks like. But you can get a 30% off on the early bird, but that deal's already gone. The 20%'s off. Yeah, so these are all already taken up. So it's going to be about $2,000 if and when they release it. But it's a Kickstarter thing, so who knows when the hell this thing will actually be released.
OSS 120B, Quen 330B, Quen 3 Coder, image creation. We'll take a look at that. And out of the ones that are available that I haven't downloaded yet, GLM 4.7 Flash looks to be pretty interesting. So I'm going to click on Get. Network is offline. Please check your connection. So before I can use anything else, I would need to connect this to Wi-Fi so I can download the new model. So there I am downloading GLM 4.7 Flash. And what's nice here is that it's not going through the machine, even though you think, oh, why doesn't it just use the connection and use the Wi-Fi that's on this thing? Well, that's the whole idea, is its own device. We don't need to take up space on the computer to take up space on the device. So the model goes directly to the device instead of going through the computer where you might not have enough space. So there's 120B answering me. Let's
So the issue that I have with this device is, while it's all fine and dandy, it still requires being connected to a host device. So that would be interesting if I were to, like, say, tie that into, like, my current server. Like, how would I get that working?
ask it to write a story. And
By time of release, it'll be already out of date, do you think? Not necessarily.
Look at the memory usage here. 5 gigabytes, that's pretty normal. There is no spikes or anything here. No memory pressure. Nothing is being used on this computer, so I can keep using this as is. All the processing is done on Tiny Pocket Lab. All right, thank you. That's a very long story. We don't need that. Let's load up a coding model. Did my GLM Flash download yet? It's still downloading. But we do have Quen Coder 30B. Hey, camera, what are you looking at? The screen? You like what you see? I like
We're
it.
going to do USB pass-through to a VM.
While it's loading, right?
That's a big if. It depends on how it's set up.
Quadcoder is much faster, obviously, than 120 billion. This one is only 30. And this is not a thinking model, so it answers right away. But why would I be interested in a coder model? Well, because this is a software dev channel, so how can we use this besides chatting with it as software developers? Well, first of all, there's a bunch of different agents you can use right here on the left. Stable Diffusion, Chat Memos, and AI Assistant. There's a bit too many different agents to go into in this video, but let me know if you want to learn more about these.
That's kind of interesting.
But there's also a agent store where you can go in here, and obviously this is the kind of thing that's going to keep getting updates. More and more stuff is going to be active here. Now here's the dashboard. This shows me how many tokens I've used, which models I used, and how many tokens per model. This is really handy because it gives you a little bit of visibility and insight into how you're using your resources. For example, if you're developing a solution locally that's going to be deployed somewhere else, you can kind of gauge the token use and estimate costs later if you're using some third-party provider. Pretty handy. Now, one thing I have not tried yet that I'm about to, always scary doing this first time on camera, but there's an API base URL and an API key that will allow you to use Tiny in an OpenAI compatible interface. And in fact, if I take that weird looking base URL and I go to the browser and plug it in, it'll tell me exactly what's going on. So here's /models endpoint, and yeah, that is an OpenAI compatible endpoint. It tells me that Qwen 3 coder in fact is loaded. So here I am in VS Code and I've configured Qwen.
So that's useful because then I could tie it into a lot of my stuff with very minimal configuration tweaks.
3 coder 30B to be my...
You better start saving. By the time this probably gets released, I'll probably have DGX Sparks in my lab. I'm in the middle of talking to a few companies for different hardware and software and sponsor deals and all that, so I can buy things, but yeah.
My custom AI agent inside my editor. And now I can talk to it through my VS Code interface. What does this file do? This file is a batch script for Windows that automates the setup and execution of a Python project. That's right. So
I didn't catch. Is he using the continue extension? I've done that with Olama locally on the MacBook Pro that I have at work.
It has the ability to read and edit files and so on. And the speed is not terrible. Now I don't have to take my MacBook Pro on an airplane. I can travel light with this stuff. Here's an example.
That would actually be useful.
38B, and that's...
So yeah, for travel it actually would be really useful because like when I'm traveling internationally, I don't want to pay for the internet. It's god-awful expensive to do international internet. It's not that great. And all of my AI stuff is hosted at home. So if I could somehow carry around a smaller model with me to continue doing my work, that would just be great.
Pretty fast. Try again, write a story. Now, what's funny is that the MacBook doesn't have a fan at all. But the Tiny Box, the Pocket Lab, does make up for that because it has its own fan. It definitely needs to cool that NPU that's doing the processing. So the only thing I hear here in this office is the Tiny Pocket Lab. It's just a persistent fan going. You can definitely hear it. It's not silent, but it's not like wildly annoying. By the way, when you use this inside VS Code as a coding agent, you go through a lot of tokens. Just that couple of queries that I made, I'm already over 20,000 tokens. Another win for local, right? Because you get an unlimited number.
Yeah, that's kind of why I want to get local stuff set up better, because I'm using Claude Opus a lot, and in GitHub Copilot Pro Plus, you get 1,500 queries per month. I can easily do 2,500 or 3,000. So there's a point in time where, like, I'm getting closer to the end of the month. I have to, like, slow down on stuff. Although these first couple of weeks I haven't really done much, so I'll be able to make up for it the second half of the month for my tinkerings and stuff. I've actually been using Claude Opus to help me set up for getting my mods together for Morrowind, believe it or not. So, like, I have my list here of mods that I'm trying to get for Elder Scrolls Morrowind when we do that playthrough. And I have an entire, you know, playlists of tiers of things that we're doing. And I've only gotten through the tier 1 lists, and I'm testing it out. And then we got tier 3, then we got tier 2, and then tier 3. And making it a lot more robust playthrough. But yeah, I had to use Claude and a bunch of other things to do that, but yeah.
GLM Flash finally downloaded.
Show
and
off
now
Jake
I can
Games
start
like,
talking to it.
you've seen my shit IRL.
Even more models stored on this thing that I can anytime just pull up and use whenever I want. Let's check out SD Web UI. A cat in a hat. Do you think it's gonna draw a cat inside a hat or a cat wearing a hat? Instead, it draws a red square.
What the hell?
So it says here, please select a text-to-image model from the status bar.
Oh.
So you can only have one model loaded at a time, and right now I have GLM 4.7 loaded, as you can see here, Flash, which makes that model available to all the different tools and agents. If I want model to be available to the Stable Diffusion UI, then I need to load up the Z Image Turbo, or
that makes sense.
text-to-image model that's going to be available, which unloads GLM 4.7 Flash. Makes sense, right? You have a limited number of resources to work with, so unloading a model before loading a new one makes sense. All right, let's try generating that. And there it goes. Looks like Stable Diffusion, all right. Any guesses? I just see a cat. I see 0 hats in that picture. A cat playing guitar. Now, if you know a little bit more about Stable Diffusion than I do, then you might know what all these things do and the best options to select, but you're not me. And I don't, so I'm gonna just hit generate.
Yeah, I barely do AI image generation for stuff like that.
Guitar. What a cute little pussycat. What's cool about this interface is that it actually tells you what model are available, what models you already have downloaded, the ones that
That's kind of
and
nice.
the models that you could still get that'll work with Stable Diffusion. Now, one of the questions that comes to mind is, how is it that such a tiny little device with an NPU can compete with, I don't know, an internal GPU, like, for example, Apple Silicon? So here's Tiny on the left running Qwen 8B, which is a bigger model than the one I'm running on the right. That's Qwen 3.4B. And let's take a look at how that looks. I'm gonna go enter and enter here. They're not at the same time, but close enough, just to give us a sense of how quickly things are generating. Hello. There it goes. Okay, it's thinking. The one on the right is taking a little bit longer. And you tell me, which one do you think is faster here? I think the NPU one is faster, even though it's a larger model. The one executing on the Mac is actually running MLX. Now, this is the MacBook Neo, so it's not going to be super fast like a M4 or M5 Max machine. But we're talking about really low power consumption, lasting a long time. How is it that Tiny is doing that? Well, the foundation of that can be found on GitHub. Tiny AI Power Infer is the name of the repository. You can go check it out. It's kind of like the backbone of the product. Oh, look at that. GitHub trending #1 repository of the day. Power Infer is basically a CPU/GPU LLM inference engine leveraging activation locality for your device. I don't know what the heck that means.
Sounds like buzzwords.
Keeping the actively used, the hot parts of the model constantly active and alive, while putting some of the ones that are less commonly used to sleep. It's like a clever way of managing the model so that it can run faster. You can get more info on tiny.ai website, as well as their Kickstarter campaign, where you can sign up and get this thing at a discounted rate if you're an early backer. Now, I've wanted to play with this thing ever since I saw this at CES, and I think it's really cool. Now, this thing is not going to be a replacement for a monster GPU rig. It's slower, and right now it's more curated than a fully open DIY setup. That's kind of clear, but if you want a small and private low power box that can bring meaningful local AI to a much weaker laptop, or perhaps a mini PC that's less capable, that's where this starts to make a lot of sense. And yes, being on Kickstarter makes it a harder sell for some people, which is totally fair, but the idea here is genuinely interesting, and in actual use, I think it makes a stronger case than you might expect. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I look forward to checking it out and reading it. I do read all your comments, and I think you would like this video next. Thanks for watching.
I mean, I'd be interested in using one of those. It seems pretty interesting for a lot of my needs, but yeah. I mean, a DGX Spark definitely still is, you know, leaning more towards where I want to go, but yeah. If I dual boot, does it affect performance on my PC? No. It's more just how much space it's using. You miss Sora for images, now I use ChatGPT. You use Sora for images? I thought Sora only did video, but I never really played with it much. Yitz did more of that stuff. Qwen 3.5 looking pretty solid as well. Should be no surprise, though. Yeah, I have Qwen... Oh, I don't have 3.5. I played with 3.5 on my work laptop, right. I need to add 3.5 to my box. But yeah, that AI tool looks really good. Alright, let's see. What did Vampire share with the classroom today? Mayonnaise is officially an instrument. Okay.
Mayonnaise is officially considered an instrument according to a new study by a real university. So the original...
Is Patrick really a genius? Is that what we're getting at here?
SpongeBob meme of Patrick asking is mayonnaise an instrument came out in 2001 during the Sweet Victory episode, and Hellman's the mayonnaise...
Good God, I'm old! 2001? I was 10!
Got the head of global music technologies at Northumbria University to research the question. They decided it was an instrument because it can produce or modify sound in a controlled and intentional way. Mayonnaise is officially considered...
This is how you know that you need to get your funding cut from your program if you actually spent that much time to figure out if mayonnaise is an instrument. Alright, what's this?
What else can you do with expansion cards? How about using them in a modular USB-C hub? For this month's monthly mod, we're featuring the
Oh, these are the framework mods.
They're a product design and engineering team featuring community-driven open hardware. This is a behind-the-scenes look of the work needed to create an open product like this, which is currently in the prototyping phase. The dock frame features 4 expansion card slots, tool card base, USB 3.2, USB-C power delivery, and ESP32 management.
Oh, interesting.
To the pre-order list, check out dockframe.com.
Interesting. So they're using the modules there. Alright. What's this?
Puppy day out. Hi, puppy.
It's a basket full of puppies! Look, puppies are my happy place.
My babies went to the vet. There we go, Road King. Hey. They're such good dogs. Puppies. Hey, puppy girl. Are you...
I just want to snuggle them all and cuddle them all. Alright, let's see. More damage to the A bubble.
Saved from the RAM and SSD shortage by Google of all companies with a huge breakthrough. And we are already seeing price drops for the first...
Okay, yeah, this is about Turbo Quant. We've already talked about Turbo Quant. Okay.
Yes, the biggest complaint that I have about WhatsApp is about to change. They're about to let you message people without ever giving out your phone number. This changes everything. By June 2026, WhatsApp is rolling out usernames globally.
So wait, they're finally gonna do what Signal's been doing for years already? Imagine that!
Globally, you'll be able to set a unique...
Hey, Raven, hey, Chiefs, just wanted to say hi and thank you for all the really good informative videos. Appreciate it.
2 billion people use WhatsApp.
Happy hacking, bud. Software engineer and trying to learn Linux and C++, etc. Nice!
That's been the biggest privacy...
My videos have helped out a lot. I'm happy. My rule of thumb is basically to consider any of my content a success or see myself as a successful content creator is at least if one person walks away from my content feeling like they've learned something. That's how I judge it. F all that money and, you know, fame people want. I just want people to learn. I couldn't give a shit about anything else. So, yeah, I'm glad that you're learning from it. That's the sole reason why I do this. And happy hacking, bud.
Problem with the app since day one. Meta just confirmed this is happening. It's optional, so you can keep your number.
Where to go over France giving Microsoft the snub. We talked about that a few weeks ago. France is de-Microsoftifying things and shifting more towards Linux. That's been happening EU-wide, not just France.
One random person having their digits. This is massive. I'm telling you right now, the day WhatsApp usernames go live, phone numbers become the new fax machines. Legit, our kids are never going to understand why we used them in the first place.
Legit, you should know your loved one's phone numbers that are closest to you. I at least know my dad and my grandparents' phone number by heart. I know my own phone number by heart. You should get in the habit of knowing them because there is a chance where your phone gets broken or something and you have to call them.
Follow for more AI and tech news, tips, and breakdowns.
Alright. Lawn.tv. I vibe coded 4 new Plex apps with the API. Let's see what you got there. We like Lawn. Lawn makes good stuff.
Hey everybody, it's Lon Seidman. We are back with our monthly sponsored video from Plex, and this month we're taking a look at vibe coding with the Plex API. Here's a little app I built in about 10 or 15 minutes with Claude's code application. And what I can do here is just swipe to the left in kind of a Tinder-style interface, and when I find a movie that I want to watch, I can swipe to the right, and it will trigger my player to play the movie that I just selected.
Can you imagine if you go on a date and you just were swiping all day for Tinder, then you bring her home for Netflix and chill? You're like, you want to watch that? No? Okay, watch that? Okay, we're going to swipe right for the movie. And there you go. Our entire world is now shifting into dating apps.
This is a fun way to find something to watch. If I don't really know what I want to watch, I can just have some random suggestions and then flick over the first one that interests me, and then it triggers my Android player here to start playing. And I've got a bunch of other fun little apps that I put together, and we'll talk about how you can build these yourself. And this is all through Plex's API that was released recently. And normally this is a tough...
Wait, Plex didn't really have an API?
These AI coding apps, you can just give it the data from this instruction set and build yourself some really...
I would have thought this API has been out for a while. Huh.
Experience inside and outside of the home. So we're going to dive into this in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this is a paid sponsorship from Plex. However, they did not review or approve what you're about to see before it was uploaded, and all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So let's get into it now and see how we can vibe code some new Plex applications.
You only know your mom's phone number by heart? I mean, as long as you know somebody.
But this is what worked for me. So I went over to the Plex Media Server API. I clicked on Start Building. And the first thing I did was I downloaded the Open API specification here. And this gave me a single file. Let me get this window out of the way here. This gave me a single file called openapi.json. And what I did is I built a folder on my desktop here. And in that folder...
I saw a long time ago and thought Lego Star Wars.
And I told it that we're going to make some Plex projects that hit the Plex API. I instructed it to find the API documentation in the folder that I created, and then I told it I wanted this Tinder-style web app, and then it went through the process here of creating everything. I am pretty sure this worked almost completely on the first shot, if I remember correctly, and there was just a couple of little bugs here, and it went through and fixed everything, and this one was pretty much done in the first round. There was a couple of little debug issues I had to work through on getting the Android player to work, but by and large, this was a pretty simple process. And I've had great success so far with Claude Code, as you can see. I've also tried ChatGPT.
I haven't used Claude Code directly. I've been using GitHub Copilot Pro Plus through VS Code, and then using Claude Opus Sonnet or ChatGPT Codex or whatever else through that,
which is very similar to Claude Code, and I've been able to use Gemini's command line interface on my Mac here. All three, with that prompt, have been able to work with that big JSON file to figure out the API.
JSON Derulo.
And what's great about
I still call it JSON too.
That I just mentioned is that they can edit the files directly on your computer, so you're not having to do copy and paste or re-uploads. You can point it at a directory and have it code right in there. Now, I am coding and running all of this stuff locally, so I don't need any kind of robust authentication right now. The only thing that you will need to provide, though, is a Plex token that these applications need to connect up with your local Plex server via the API.
It's a nice looking web UI. You could probably package up a app relatively easy with that.
And look at the media info on a piece of media, and I'll show you why you're going to do this in a second here. So you go over to Get Info, and then what you'll see at the bottom here is an option to view XML. And when you do that, you're going to get a bunch of XML up on the screen, but in the URL all the way over to the right here, you will see an option for Plex token. And although I removed my token, you can find your Plex token right in here, and that will get you connected to your server. Now, of course,
that's a little convoluted, but yeah.
On authentication system that uses the Plex authenticator. But if you're just doing this for yourself, a quicker way to get it up and running is to grab that token. And then
okay, so there is another way to do it.
To your application, as I did here, and you're good to go. So that is how I've been able to get everything to connect up. One other thing to note is that many of these tools that you're going to use will likely write out your web apps in Node.js. And it's not hard to get Node.js stuff working, but you got to spin up a little server on your computer to do it. And if you don't want to do that and would rather work with a local web server that you have that can execute PHP code, for example, all you need to do is just ask your coding tool to write it in PHP, and it will do that for you instead.
F that. I'm going to make it Dockerized. I don't like Node.js because they've had a lot of security issues, so I containerize all that. I did learn how to use Node.js for one of my first coding projects when I was doing Stream Daemon, back when it was called Twitch and Toot. The original version for that was written in Node.js because I was using ChatGPT 3.5, and Yitz was teaching me how to code, and he knew Node more than Python. Eventually, I rewrote the whole thing in Python, and that's why it's been on Python ever since. I much prefer Python for a lot of things. Not saying Node.js is bad, it's just I prefer Python.
So this next application we're going to take a look at is a PHP web app. It's being hosted currently on my Synology's web server. Again, only accessible to people in the home here. And this one is a jukebox application for when you have friends coming over to a party. This is my favorite one so far. Let's have a look. So welcome to Plex Party Mode. And imagine that you're at a party, you've got some music playing through your phone on Plex Amp to some kind of Bluetooth speaker or whatever. And you want to have your guests help choose the music that gets played at the party.
Okay, now that would be useful.
So what they can do is scan that QR code, and when they do that, their phone will take them to a client screen here, and we have Plex Party Mode. Now, I've got my keyboard up because I'm in the Request a Song portion here. So if I type in maybe Freebird, I can then hit the request button, and when I
like how that's always the one thing. Hey, can you play Freebird? That's like a running meme for years.
do that, you can see Freebird gets added to what's coming up next. And then I could also have my guests browse my whole library and look for something specific. So maybe they're looking for a little Dave Matthews Band. They can choose the album that he's got on my server here. These are all from my Plex server, FLAC files that I have stored on there. And if I want to add a song to the mix here, I can just request it, and it will add it in there. And it also has some controls. So
yeah, just go play Freebird.
So you can only request every 10 seconds or so, but somebody can go through here and choose more songs to play, and everybody can get access to this at your party if they scan the QR code, and you can see those things updating as we go here. Now, if I go back to my computer, I am the host of this, and so I can control where things show up on the list here. So for example, now we've got 4 different songs that have been queued up by guests. So I, as the party host, have some additional controls here. So for example, if somebody adds some more songs to the mix here, so maybe somebody adds one of my favorite artists here, Marty Friedman, we'll just hit the request button, and that of course now is at the bottom of my list. But if I decide that I want to hear that Marty Friedman song earlier, what I can do is go into my interface here, and let me get you the full phone interface, and I can go and change the order of things. So for example, we see that that Marty Friedman song got added, and I can move.
Yeah, then you can move the priority up
here, so that Marty Friedman will be the next song played if I want.
You'd need to add a move the top, move the bottom.
Freebird, and that will update the queue accordingly here. So this is all happening via the API. I'm just sitting on my web browser here. I could easily have this running on my phone or tablet. I could probably code up some other thing where we could maybe even display what's playing on a monitor and do some other stuff with it as well. So this is some of the stuff that you can attach to just with plain English words on an interface through one of these AI coding applications. And it's pretty cool that you can do all of this so easily. All right, this next one is something I coded up in Claude. This one is called Plex Wrapped, and what it does is it generates some stats based on what I've done over the past year. So here it shows 177 plays. I did have it exclude all the stuff my kids watch, so it's just...
You know what they need to add to that? A total counter of how much money you've screwed out of the movie studios. Not as like a negative thing, just as a like, hey, this is how much money you've saved, and how much money they could have stolen from you.
Limited to what I watched here.
You've updated Olama and pulled Gemma 4. See Discord for how long of a tangent it goes on.
I consumed, what things I watched a lot. Now, I did do some automation experiments recently, so I was using some Star Trek Picard episodes for that, so this number was...
Good God!
But it shows what days of the week that I'm most active. All sorts of cool stuff here that...
Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. So, they used... Okay, so... Okay, there's your NVIDIA SMI. You've got Olama on your server. Hello, how can I help you? What is OFDM in the context of wireless? Oh, good God. Yeah, that's a good chunk of text there. Which, the Gemma 4 sure, 4B is what you added on? Okay.
You can generate, and of course you could give it other things to display in these windows here. Let me show you one more before I close out. Now, this is a revision of something I did a few months ago.
Oh, the E4B.
Which is a little now playing application that you could have running in your theater room or whatever. And what it will do is show me what is currently playing.
So I'm just looking up. So they got the Gemma 4, E4B. Wow, it goes from E4B to just 26B? That doesn't look right. There's nothing in between? Okay, 4.5B effective with 8B embeddings. So, I mean, it's kind of a small model. That's kind of nice. My 3050 could easily run that. I'd be curious to see if I could run the 31B, but the Mixture of Experts one looks really interesting. I need a bigger amount of VRAM for it.
The thumbnail along with the progress bar as to where that film is at. And then I can also get recommendations from the Plex server as to what might be similar to this, more or less. The recommendations aren't always perfect, but usually there's something interesting here. And all of these are in my library. So for example, if I wanted to watch Contact instead, I can just hit that and it will prompt my player to start playing Contact. And then of course the page here will refresh in a second with what I am currently watching. This will refresh on its own, but you can also just hit refresh here and get the update. And then of course I could switch to something else if I preferred to do that. So there you go. You can very easily put applications together using the Plex API without much coding experience. It helps to know a little bit about how web applications work, but once you get these things put together...
That's neat, and I think we're going to see a lot more interesting things as time goes on, and people can have their creativity run. Like you said, it's good to have some basic knowledge on how these things run to better do them, but yeah, I think a lot of people will be making some interesting ideas, but don't think that AI can do everything for you. You still got to learn a lot of it yourself. Alright, so what are some other videos Vampire has?
Gaming now looks even better. Say hello to over 600% performance improvements. One of the key elements of
Is this the NT Sync thing?
getting games to work on the Penguin is a little program known as Wine. You're basically trying to get the things that work on Windows to work on Linux.
And remember, Wine literally stands for Wine is not an emulator. I don't know why people keep saying the words like emulate Windows games on Linux. You're not emulating, you have a compatibility layer. Emulation is like, say, you have a Game Boy game, which is on Game Boy hardware, and then emulating it to run on x86. That's emulation. Getting an x86 app to work on ARM, that's emulation. Getting a x86 Linux app or a x86 Windows app to work on Windows is not emulation.
Through a translation layer rather than working directly on the operating system.
Thought you meant wine. Nah, if I meant wine, I'd have wine. I told you about my wine fridge.
But that's required a ton of workarounds that's impacted performance and compatibility, and Wine 11 fixes a lot of the most egregious issues by integrating new methods into the kernel. 678% FPS increase in Dirt 3, tripling Resident Evil 2's numbers.
Damn.
And Black Ops 1 finally playable thanks to integrating NT Sync. And
Okay, yeah, NT Sync.
this is being implemented into the main
That it's a Monday night and I have work in the morning, yeah.
compatibility layer will also see these patches added in, making the Steam Deck even better. Even though Microsoft is promising to fix Windows, the era of experimenting with Linux is here, and there's no better time to hop in and to at least give it a shot. Just don't go to existing Linux communities to ask your advice. They're still not kind of newbies, and they don't like that I called Wine an emulator. They're pissed.
You know, I keep seeing people that are like, you know, they're toxic to newbies. I haven't really seen that attitude as much, and here's the thing I'll tell people. Every community has some toxic people. I don't know why people are singling out Linux communities, but like if you go to my Discord server, the #1 rule is don't be a dick. Look, I'll be helpful for a lot of people. But there's things like, oh, which Linux distribution is best, and I'll say the one that works best for you. I can give you some recommendations for things to try, but ultimately that's up to you. All right, next video. Is that a fox? I think that's a fox. Foxes are cute, though. Even the trans community has trans hating on trans. Wait, what? How does that work?
Sir,
this guy's making me nervous.
Are you aware of that?
Oh!
Sir?
What car is that? What car is that? Why is it not working all of a sudden? It kind of looked like a Tesla. And then, of course, we got Prism's video over there. Alright. We got time, I guess, for one more video this evening. Especially with the last few years, I see a lot of opinions being blasted, but not people being dicks to the newbies. Yeah, even when I was a kid and starting out, people were not really a dick to me. It was like, hey, maybe be helpful using that here or there. You're gonna find an asshole in every community, okay? But the majority of people I've seen in Linux are pretty chill. Alright, the next video from Hans. How the world's deepest undersea megatunnel is being built.
Norway is building the most extreme road tunnel ever. It's a true...
They say you're not passing enough. You are why cis people hate us, or you pass too well. I hate you, and you're not. It sounds like people that just have a lot of issues that need to go through their therapist and stuff. But again, like I was saying, and you agreed with me, there are assholes in every community.
Feet designed to overcome geographic constraints.
Happily, most of my coworkers have geeked about me planning to join the Linux fun after the conference. Nice.
An unprecedented construction.
Oh, speaking of which, Jessica, did you get my signal message? Because I sent you something over the weekend in relation to that topic. I don't want to get into it on chat, but you did? Okay. Was that what you needed from me? Oh, you replied tonight? Well, of course you replied while I'm on stream, didn't you? Because you were like, hey, Chief streaming. Oh, shit. Yeah, I should have done that thing. Probably had a message all typed out and everything. Forgot to hit send. I got your number. How do I know you so well, Jessica? One of us. One of us. Ooga chaka. One of us. Yeah, but that's why you're part of the group. It's okay. I kind of figured as much. But I did send it to you right after the last meetup we had.
Project packed with record-breaking achievements. In southern Norway, beneath the breathtaking fjords that have made the region and the country famous, a titanic construction site has been underway.
By the way, these kind of views are one of the reasons why Norway is on my list to check out. I love natural beauty like this. Like, my goal of a house is like having a stream with acres of land, near fiber internet, but a completely like solar powered house with lithium ion iron phosphate batteries and everything. I want this mix of, I'm completely off the grid, but I have internet in case I want to talk to humanity. But otherwise, y'all can F off.
That have made the 18. Called Rogfast, this project hides a monument.
You verbally pitched me and it was received well. Nice.
Kilometers long. It's set to become the...
Let me know when I need to start working on the slides and everything, because I can probably whip something up in a few days.
Longest underwater road tunnel in the world when it opens in 2033. More importantly, it will also be the deepest road tunnel ever built, with certain sections plunging nearly 400 meters below sea level.
Damn, 300 meters.
Euro megastructure that already...
You need you to at least submit to that link tonight. Let me see what you need from me. Bear with me. Oh, okay. Accept essential. Oh, I see. It's saying it's closed. The final submission said the 5th. But, okay, yeah, just let me know. Hit me up whenever.
Raises many questions, particularly about its feasibility, as water infiltration has already been detected on site. Fasten your seatbelts and hop into our amphibious car, because today, looking forward to taking you underwater, deep inside Norway's Rogfast tunnel. Welcome everyone to this new episode.
Just keep me posted, Jessica, because I'd really love to contribute.
Of what Norway is undertaking right now, we first need to set the geographic context.
What do you do? Chief, I'm just staring down.
Norway is a rugged country that delights tourists who come to admire its natural wonders. And the country's appeal keeps growing.
That's amazing, those houses and everything.
Residents, often faced with real journeys just to travel between cities, reality can be quite different. A reality that is even more pronounced along the coast, far from Oslo, the capital located in the east. Today, driving between Bergen, the country's second largest city, and Stavanger, Norway's fourth largest, takes nearly 5 hours.
Damn!
The same travel time as driving between Paris and Lyon in France.
I didn't realize Norway was that big. Like 5 hours? That's a good chunk of even my state.
The French route covers more than 450 kilometers, while the Norwegian journey is only 208 kilometers long.
Huh.
This gap is explained by geography. Between Bergen and Stavanger, drivers currently have no choice but to take ferries, which significantly slows down the trip. To improve between cities, modernize national infrastructure, boost local commerce, and encourage tourism, the Norwegian government launched a massive project, the modernization of the E39 coastal highway. Stretching 1,360 kilometers, it's considered one of the most scenic roads in the world.
Damn, that...
From Trondheim in
I think that's one of the drives they did on Top Gear. Oh, could you imagine going in like a Camaro convertible or an Audi TT, just going through that road in the middle of spring or summer weather? That'd probably just be beautiful.
north.
I'd totally love to do like a drive through Europe like that. That'd be awesome.
To Kristiansand in the south, and eventually reaches Aalborg in Denmark. Today, it takes 21 hours to travel.
That's an 845-mile highway for the idiots in the room.
The goal is to eliminate...
I'd be that nerd making the trip on a small CC motorcycle or scooter. See, I'd do it like Top Gear style. Give me a nice car. Like, if I could get in my dream car of a Skyline GTR, oh yeah.
These crossings by building tunnels and bridges, effectively cutting travel time in half. A simple idea on paper, but far more complex in
13-hour drive with 7 ferry crossings.
To be completed before 2050, with a total budget exceeding $40 billion.
Good God!
Among all these major innovations stands one flagship project. Undoubtedly, the most ambitious and technically demanding of them all. The Rogaland Fixed Link, also known as Rogfast. Literally meaning the fixed link of Rogland. This tunnel will connect Randaberg, just north of Stavanger, to Bokken, a strategic point along the Stavanger-Bergen route that currently requires a ferry crossing over the Boknafjord and Kvitsøyafjord. Built under the authority of the Norwegian Public Roads Administration, the tunnel will pass beneath the island of Kvitsøy, home to the town of the same name.
Wait, so this is gonna be underwater? How deep?
Which happens to be Norway's smallest municipality. The tunnel is expected to significantly improve connectivity along Norway's west coast by creating a faster and more reliable link between the Stavanger and Haugesund regions, promises Ann-Britt Moen, one of the project managers at Skanska. The company
So my question is, why do a tunnel as to opposed to bridge? because like a tunnel has more, you know, engineering considerations with it. Not only do you have to, of course, make the tunnel, but, you know, then you have to talk about ventilation, because we still have, you know, fossil fuels being used, amongst other things, and, yeah, I'm just curious.
Responsible for building the northern and deepest section of the tunnel. According to her, Rogfast could save drivers around 40 minutes between the two cities. Most importantly, it will put an end to ferry lines, waiting queues, limited schedules. While the drive may offer fewer scenic views, it will be open 24/7, year-round. Freight transport logistics will also become far more efficient. But this time savings comes at a price. Rogfast will measure 26.7 kilometers in total.
26.7? Good God!
While it doesn't rival rail tunnel records, it will become the longest road tunnel in the world, surpassing another Norwegian tunnel, the Lærdal Tunnel, which stretches 24.5 kilometers and opened in 2000 after 5 years of construction and decades of political debate. The Lærdal Tunnel cuts through a mountainous region beneath 2 fjords and is a masterpiece of engineering, featuring 18 turning bays that allow drivers to turn around if necessary. It's even become a tourist attraction in its own right.
Really?
Lighting system.
That looks... for a tunnel, that looks wonderful.
An artificial northern lights installation illuminates its 3 main turning.
Oh, that's nice.
Adding a touch of magic to the journey.
Could you imagine if you were tripping and going down this tunnel? Like, just... imagine that trip while tripping. That would be so trippy. Be going down a tunnel. Man, I got tunnel vision. Oh my God! Do we have the northern lights down here? Like, take your one friend that doesn't know.
And Norway isn't alone. Across Europe, massive infrastructure projects are multiplying to improve mobility, even if that means literally moving mountains. I've linked a video in the description about 2 ongoing mega projects that could permanently reshape.
The lighting is designed to keep you awake. Oh, hey, there's Croatia.
The tunnel will consist of 2 separate tubes, each with 2 traffic lanes, fully dedicated to road vehicles. Safety walkways will be installed every 500 meters, along with emergency cross passages, allowing evacuation from one tube to the other in case of an incident.
Interesting.
This extraordinary structure will include 17 technical buildings, 154 emergency stations, 38 cross galleries, and rescue access routes between the tubes. Each tube will measure just over 10 meters in diameter. Rogfast will also rely on a longitudinal ventilation system powered by jet fans, specifically designed for tunnel ventilation and smoke extraction in the event of a fire. Air inlets and outlets will be distributed along the entire route, including at the tunnel's midpoint. There, 2 vertical ventilation shafts are being excavated, approximately 230 meters deep, with diameters of 8.6 and 9.4 meters.
Good God!
These shafts, along with several ventilation tunnels, will extract polluted air from one shaft while supplying fresh air through the other. This is also where one of the project's most impressive engineering feats will be located. A double underground roundabout connecting to another tunnel leading to Kvitsøy.
Wait, what?
In this section, the maximum gradient will reach 7%, while elsewhere in the tunnel it will be limited to around 5%.
That's a pretty steep grade!
In practical terms, that means descending 7 meters every 100 meters at the steepest point. At this precise location, the tunnel will lie 266 meters below sea level. And it goes even deeper, down to 392 meters, making it the deepest road tunnel in the world. For comparison, the Channel Tunnel between the UK and France is 50 kilometers long.
Man, and I remember that was a huge ordeal.
But it only descends to about 75 meters below sea level.
Oh, is that all?
Today, no road tunnel anywhere in the world.
Is it that bad that my national highway is 12% grade? Yeah! It's pretty deep. I mean, pretty steep.
Goes deeper than 300 meters. So, why go so deep? Just to break records?
Why go so deep? Sorry, I had to.
Unlike other large European projects, Rogfast is being blasted and drilled directly into solid rock, rather than assembled from prefabricated tunnel elements placed on the seabed. In other words, it's excavated beneath the fjord, not laid on it. A strict rule applies, maintaining at least 50 meters of rock between the tunnel and the water above.
Makes sense.
Widely used in Norway, ensures long-term stability under extreme water pressure. But this approach comes with major challenges. An estimated 8.5 million cubic meters of rock will need to be excavated. Construction will inevitably impact the environment. Norway, one of the world's largest...
Remember the Port of Miami? Don't know what the biggest deal and so forth. Oh, okay.
Rock will be reused for local projects, including the creation of industrial zones near tunnel entrances and exits. The largest disposal site will become a new industrial area on Kvitsøy. Another challenge? Precision. To save time on an already lengthy schedule, Rogfast is being excavated simultaneously from both ends. The goal is for the two teams to meet with an error margin of less than 5 centimeters. Any greater deviation would lead to major technical, financial, and scheduling complications.
Good God, that's intense. Like, I know when they did the tunnel under the UK and France, I think they said like they were within centimeters apart or something like that too. It's insane when you think about the engineering that goes behind this. Like, because you're talking about like you're talking about like 27 kilometers of tunnels, if I remember correctly. There's 1.8 kilometer per mile, I think. Anyway. And you're talking about having, like, that much tolerance. Like, give or take. Actually, no, it'd be... probably about, like... Yeah, that. You have, like, that much tolerance, basically.
This is surgical engineering, requiring cutting-edge technology. On site, rotating mirror laser scanners measure newly excavated sections, collecting up to 2 million...
Thank you for the gifts, Kilobyte, over on TikTok.
...of the tunnel. This model is then compared to design plans to detect even the smallest inaccuracies. It's a far cry from the romantic image of surveyor peering through an instrument, explains Burkhard Bokum, CTO at Hexagon, a Swedish industrial technology group. But it saves time, money, and avoids costly material errors. Engineers also rely on advanced grouting and waterproofing techniques to keep the tunnel dry and stable, constantly fighting the risk of seawater infiltration. Despite all precautions, significant saltwater...
This is the Rogfast tunnel. Yeah, I think so. That's what it's talking about.
...below sea level. One of the biggest challenges so far has been finding grouting methods effective enough to seal the rock. We are constantly working to identify the best methods to ensure safe and efficient working conditions for everyone, Ann-Britt Moen told CNN. This extraordinary project is already very real. Construction began in January 2018, but was halted in late 2019 due to cost overruns, leading to contract cancellations and a full project restructuring.
Wait, so they already started it?
Paused work for several months. Construction resumed in late 2021. According to the current schedule, the first vehicles should be able to drive...
Be 400 meter below, and with its length, it's more economical to do tunnels over bridges.
25 billion Norwegian krona, or more than 2.1 billion euros.
Still a bit of chunk of change.
Who will pay, and at what cost? Norway is an extremely wealthy country thanks to its oil and gas revenues. The government has announced it will cover 40% of the project, with the remaining 60% paid by drivers. As is common,
so tolls
will be installed to repay construction costs. Around 6,000 vehicles per day are expected at opening. But how much will it cost to use the tunnel? For now, no one knows. And what if tolls are high enough to discourage drivers? Again, few answers. At full operation, traffic could reach 13,000 vehicles per day.
Okay.
But if it exceeds expectations, congestion could emerge, potentially reducing the project's initial benefits. Critics also point to other weaknesses, accusing authorities of overlooking safety.
Yeah, if you're talking about only a 2-lane highway underneath, I mean, that's not too much space.
Environmental and budget.
I guess it depends on how many cars are going through.
Opponents argue that dumping massive volumes of excavated material elsewhere in the fjord could harm ecosystems and biodiversity.
That's a fair argument.
Safety. Scenarios involving accidents, fires, or blocked tunnel entrances are seen as blind spots. That said, large infrastructure projects always face opposition. Sometimes justified, sometimes not. No road is safer than a 2-lane tunnel with no oncoming traffic, responded Oddvar Karmo, project manager at Statens Vegvesen, Norway's road authority. As for the unthinkable, he adds, it can just as easily happen on a plane, a train, or a ferry.
That's a fair enough statement.
To address potential risks, a real-time alert system will detect breakdowns.
The Hudson Tunnel project in New York is $16 billion USD and it's only 2.4 miles.
Continuously monitor vehicles.
Yeah.
Critics also highlight potential regional economic impacts.
USA has a lot of bureaucracy on things too.
And the jobs linked to them could disappear altogether. And for good reason. Rogfast's ultimate goal within the E39 modernization plan is to eliminate all ferry crossings by 2050. Authorities, however, emphasize future jobs tied to tunnel operations and maintenance, as well as potential economic growth from new industrial zones planned at both ends of the tunnel. For now, construction continues. In November 2025, Norway's public broadcaster NRK reported that the E03 section between Mekjavik and Kvitsøy had reached 52% completion. It's the largest and most complex of the project's 4 sections. A clear sign that work is progressing, even though many milestones remain before the plan's 2033 opening. And this is where our journey ends for today. If you'd like me to follow the progress of this...
Well, that's pretty interesting. I'll be curious to see how far along they come with that. Alright, let's watch a few more shorts before we call it a night. Vampires sent these out, so...
Breaking news, ARM, the company that designs chips for basically every phone on the planet, just started making their own AI chips.
Oh, great.
Actually building and selling hardware. Meta, OpenAI, Cloudflare, and Cerebras already signed up. This is like if the architect who designed every building in Manhattan suddenly started their own construction.
EV going into thermal runaway is crazy, yeah.
Closely, the chip game just got a new player in town with everybody's phone number. And the cold calling is just getting started. Make sure to click follow for more AI and tech news, tips, and breakdowns.
I'd be curious to see a RISC-V based one, but...
Just got a huge win against internet censorship, and it could fix the biggest problem on Steam. You see, the chairman of the Federal Trade Commission just sent letters pressing the 4 major payment processors over potential FTC Act violations against American consumers.
Yeah?
This time, companies like Visa and MasterCard could refuse to process your payments using vague terms like brand risk. And a while back...
Yeah, I hate that shit.
...like Steam and itch.io were being forced to censor themselves and remove thousands of NSFW games just to avoid losing payment access.
Yeah?
Happening because of the pro-women advocacy group called Collective Shout that was actively pressuring Visa and MasterCard to cut these platforms off. But
more like collective Karens.
now the FTC is finally acting on the executive order that the president signed last year against unfair debanking on all Americans. With the government...
One of the few times they will actually say Trump did something good.
Basically saying that as long as the transaction is legal, payment...
My mods from Minecraft was giving me an issue where it would send my FPS to like 15 to 30 if I looked in one direction, so I turned it off and boom, FPS back to 150 to 200.
Leads to a lot more creative freedom on the Steam store page. Because it's crazy to think how many games have been banned on Steam, all because these companies decide what you are and aren't allowed to buy.
Yeah. Alright, let's see, what's...
Wikipedia has finally published their stance on AI content on their site, and it lets them use more than you would think. The overarching guideline is the use of LLMs to generate or rewrite article content is prohibited. But one of the reasons it's taken this long for them to take a stance is that there are edge cases that need to be considered. So there's actually 2 areas that they'll let the bot slide it. First is with basic copy editing. As long as the article is written by the human, AI can assist in doing basic things like grammar and spell checks. The second is for AI translations into English for foreign language details, but with some pretty strict criteria. You have to be skilled enough in both languages to confirm the accuracy of the translation and be able to remove any AI slop hallucinations. So while
Makes
it's
sense.
mostly a no AI policy, there are still areas that are acknowledging that AI can be an assistive tool to human people, but it shouldn't ever be used to generate the original content. Unfortunately, they're not going to make billions in their stock valuation taking that stance.
Well, they're a non-profit, so not really sure how you... Yeah. But, yeah. So, Wikipedia is accepting some AI usage in edge cases. And you know what's funny? Speaking of AI-generated content, there's now the problem where if you just happen to be speaking in full sentences and then put that in a script and then read off of that, people will actually think that you're AI. I've seen it where I've had several posts that people are like, oh, this phrase definitely gives away that they're using ChatGPT. And I'm like, you understand that ChatGPT and all those AIs were trained off of how humans speak. So just finding a phrase or, a term in here that happens to, be used in some other patterns doesn't necessarily mean that that person only used AI. Like, if you went back to some of my content years ago and see the phrasing that I have of some words, you'd probably say, oh, AI must have written that. I think that the internet has become so used to brain rot ridden language and short attention spans that anyone writing concise, full sentences that are, rewritten to be, flowing nicely is AI. It is amazing how many times that's happened. But yeah. Anyway, it is getting late, so we will be ending stream right here. Thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. I am on YouTube. I am on Twitch, Kick, TikTok, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Discord, and Matrix. Make sure to join the Discord and the Matrix servers if you haven't already. We've got a great community over there. I have more YouTube videos coming out. Just remember, I primarily focus on YouTube and streaming, and all those short clips that you've been seeing on TikTok and Instagram and even YouTube Shorts are pretty much either from these streams or long-form videos that I have been clipping so that y'all can get the little tidbits and get a little bit of FOMO so y'all can come to the streams. But thank you all for joining. I may be on stream tomorrow. That's an emphasis on may, depending on how I feel. But the next official scheduled stream is Wednesday. We do it Monday, Wednesday, Sundays usually, but I try to sprinkle in a few extra streams so we can catch up on all this content. And I think so far the new capture card has been working all right, but this has only been one stream. We'll see how well this holds up as we move forward. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. As always, I love you all. Stay safe. Happy hacking. Stick around for the raid if you're over on Twitch. Otherwise, I shall see you all definitely Wednesday, maybe tomorrow. Have a good night, y'all.